What's going on, everybody? Give me a second. Getting this late night stream ready. Anything? Nope. And this is, we're gonna make this stream category politics. I'll have to keep my news and politics, guys. I'm gonna have to keep my voice down, so bear with me. I'm saving that. I'm gonna go move straight over to 6 or 3 space. It's late at night, guys. It's too hot in the damn house, so. We had a Valkyrie stream earlier today. Everybody was chilling. Alright, so first things first, where's the Elgato? I'm gonna shut the Elgato off. I'm gonna run the news right now. And we need to close that. We have all these windows open. To close that.
Thank you so much for all the support. It really means the world. And we got a lot on the agenda tonight because of the time I have taken off. Progressive Lefty, thank you for the super chat. You said, good job on the Jimmy Dore show today. I was surprised at what the combo couch guy was saying about Colombia. Yeah, time will prove me right. I think I've already been proven right based on the first speech that the Colombian president gave, Gustavo Petro. We're going to talk about that today. But, time will only further serve those who have said what we've said right here on this program about Gustavo Petro and his administration. So, I love Pasa. He's great. And, I've been wrong about things in the past that Pasa's been right on, and he got right before me. So, we'll see what happens. Only time will tell. I think I'm right. Natalie Chavez, thank you for being a member for 13 months. Thank you so much for all the support. Sending you so much love, Jackson. Thank you. I appreciate it. What else are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about Turkey and what Turkey has to say about Russia and the EU. We're going to talk about a crematorium that was found in the Azovstal underground steelworks bunkers and the fact that there was U.S. personnel that were burned up there. Marjorie Taylor Greene went after AOC. You love to see it. We're going to discuss that. Zelensky had some words after was that. But we even have more here. So, G7. This is the real meat and potatoes of the story. That was just the fun part. G7 unveils rival to China's Belt and Road Initiative. President Biden said the U.S. will foot a third of the $600 billion G7 infrastructure program meant to rival China's initiative. G7 nations are to invest as much as $600 billion into the infrastructure of less prosperous nations around the world, with the U.S. putting 1/3 over the bill over the next 5 years. Okay, so let me just tell you how insane this is. Because at the end of the day, China is spending not just like a little bit more on the Belt and Road Initiative, they're spending tons more. Infrastructure corridors spanning some 60 countries, primarily in Asia and Europe, but also including Oceania, I don't know, and East Africa will cost an estimated $4 to $8 trillion by the time it's all said and done. $4 to $8 trillion, and the G7 leaders are like, 600 billion over 5 years, that should cut it, right? That should be enough. No! And then also, like, they're focusing on like climate related goals and climate change related goals, sustainable infrastructure. They're focusing on like LGBT rights and like women's rights and shit like that. It's all bullshit. They're just gonna use these. It's very, very small sums of money that they are going to wave in the faces of these countries that they try to, sucker into these loans, and they're gonna police them about how they treat women or how they treat, LGBTQ people, and they're gonna say like, look, if you don't treat people in a certain way that we say they should be treated, then we're not gonna give you this like $1 billion. Meanwhile, China is on the other end. Like it or not, say it's good or not, that's for you to decide, but China's on the other end of the phone saying like, look, we'll literally give you like hundreds of billions of dollars for this mass infrastructure project to develop high-speed rail, and you're going to be able to pay it off in 5-10 years, and also we don't care what the U.S. thinks about your human rights situation. So the comparison is truly unmatched when you look at how the U.S. is going about trying to entrench their power in other countries globally and counter China compared to what China's actually doing. It's just not comparable, and the decision is obviously clear for these sovereign governments to make. That's why the Solomon Islands is moving away from the U.S. and working towards China now. That's why all of these countries are doing that. I mean, it's just so obvious. And I'm actually going to be doing a full breakdown of this $600 billion over 5 years investment plan, and comparing it to the Belt and Road Initiative. It's just laughable. That's all I got to say about it now. It's just laughable. The $600 billion 5-year proposal is more laughable when you actually break it down than the clip about G7 leaders taking their shirts off and parading around on horseback to try and impress Putin. It's more laughable than even that. Alright? Hey, drop a like on the stream if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe. We got more news on the way. But first, I want to say thank you to everyone sending those super chats in. We got a few, so let me read these off, and then we'll continue on with the stream. Nikita, thank you so much. Mark, thank you. Jimmy Dore. No, it's not Jimmy Dore. Dan Purcell.
Who's up?
Dan Purcell, thank you for the super chat. Now, Dan Purcell sent a super chat in with a guess as to who my invited guest, who I'm talking to, might be on the show. Dan Purcell typed in Rin Paul, R-I-N Paul. Assuming Dan Purcell meant Ron. Dan, if you meant Ron Paul, you would be correct. That is one of the three. Joanna, thank you for the super chat. Zakharova. No, it's not Zakharova. Keep up the great work, by the way. Thank you. It's not Medvedev. Christopher Dobby, thank you for the super chat. Alright, and that's all of the super chats. Now let me check the wrong thing. Thank you to, let's see here. Thank you to Rashid for the tip on rock. Appreciate it. Please make a collaboration with Garland Nixon. I do like Garland Nixon. Okay, so you guys, it looks like we got a lot of Ron Paul fans in the chat. It's good. support the show, if you want to be a member of the show, you can super chat, or you can join as a member on YouTube or my locals or Patreon using the link I just sent in the chat. All right. So you guys got one or two guesses. So look. There's only been a few members of Congress who have been brave enough to speak out against the State Department and the deep state when it comes to the war in Ukraine, and none of the Democrats have been brave enough to do this. Just like none of the Democrats, with the exception of, formerly Tulsi Gabbard, and I'm saying formerly because she's not in the House anymore. I believe she's still a registered member of the Democratic Party. And then also, Ilhan Omar, in the 11th hour, she tweeted out a little bit of support for Julian Assange. She's like, this is kind of a bad thing, the whole thing that we're doing to Julian Assange. It's kind of a bad thing. Okay, well, that's all you're going to say. I'm not going to say this is support for Julian Assange. I mean, it's like you tweeted out one thing ever. You only said one thing ever? You're not going to do anything about it? Come on. Okay, so anyways, in the same way that they don't say anything about Julian Assange, none of them are saying anything about Ukraine. Well, there's been a few voices, unlikely voices, who have spoken up. They've been MAGA supporters. They've been like America First MAGA supporters and the most populist among them. Like there's been some MAGA-aligned people like Josh Hawley who are voting to give more arms to Ukraine. And that was disgusting, and they got called out for it, rightfully so. Dan Crenshaw, I don't know if he's like MAGA aligned or what, but he got lit up by Alex Stein over this, So, anyways, take a look at this. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene when she was talking about why are we sending $45 billion over to Ukraine? It's insane. All right, some of you might remember this, but the next story is what is so incredible about what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying now.
The lady from Georgia is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. A rise in opposition to the Ukrainian supplemental bill, $40 billion. But there's no baby formula for American mothers and babies. An unknown amount of money to the CIA in the Ukraine supplemental bill, but there's no formula for American babies and mothers. $54 million in COVID spending in Ukraine, but there's no formula for American babies and mothers. $900 million for nonprofits, for organizations in Ukraine, but there's no formula for American babies and mothers. $8.7 billion for economic support funding in Ukraine, but there's no constant U.S.
Slippers,
involvement in
hold on.
foreign affairs while our
We'll have to
own
use these.
government fails our own country. Let me remind
Hey,
everyone
Dragon,
that
what's
we
up?
were sworn oath to uphold, defend the Constitution of the United States of America and our borders. We should be paying attention to our country right now. I yield back.
That's all Max Boot told me. Max Boot told me that the war in Ukraine is our war. That's our war. We need to support them even further. Well, anyways, look, there's a domestic color revolution going on at the moment that has caught the attention of the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene, and also, of course, of the one, the only Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or as we appropriately call her, Sandy Cortez. That's what we're referring to her. Because that's her real name, Sandy Cortez. Anyway, Sandy Cortez was out on the streets, and she was saying that people needed to take to the streets. They needed to protest over the Roe v. Wade decision. Now, Like it or not, there are a lot of people who would argue, and I'm not going to be the one that argues this because I'm not an attorney. I'm not like an expert in constitutional law, though I regularly have conversations with people who are, and we've even had one of the top constitutional, lawyers on the planet come on the show here before. So anyways,
So
we
Mosa,
have
what's up?
Marjorie
It's
Taylor
almost
Greene,
time. Yeah.
who retweeted this video that went viral of AOC calling for people to go to the streets and said AOC just launched an insurrection. Any violence and rioting is a direct result of Democrat marching. So this is obviously a, poking fun at the fact that AOC tweets out very, very
What do you mean you need to go harder?
hyperbolic things like this about, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Boebert on January 6th stuff. And, if you are going to dish this stuff out, you should be able to take it. And that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing here. So AOC responds and says, I will explain this to you slowly. Exercising our right to protest is not obstruction of Congress, nor an attempt to overturn democracy. If one were a heinous enough person to do that, they'd likely seek a pardon for it too. But only one of us here has done that, and it ain't me. Now let me tell you guys, this tweet right here is literally a tweet that only Google engineers, YouTube censors, and people who work at in academia, like professors. This is only something that they're actually gonna like. Like no one actually sees this tweet and they're like, oh my god, that's a great tweet. I'm gonna retweet that. I'm gonna like it. This is a tweet that is liked by the most soy of our population. Okay, but this got 660,000 likes. Have you ever seen a tweet get 660,000 likes? I don't see tweets that get 660,000 likes all that often. That's why Haas replied to this and said, Haas at the Inferential, he said, this is probably the most potted tweet of all time. I'd have to agree. I'd have to agree. You're gonna tell me this tweet got, what? Are there really 660,000,
You said I haven't been trying hard enough in life to achieve what I want for a while. I've been just hoping they come to me with this little effort. No shortcuts anymore. I'm gonna upload a video every day this week until Sunday. YouTube is just one goal. Okay. Well, in order to work smarter, you gotta work harder first. That's true. What is it? Huh? Oh, it's a short shorts. I thought it was something different. This is the same shirt. Yay. Yeah, it's not good though.
Twitter, Netflix, Google, and YouTube employees in the world? Did each one of them actually like it? I guess maybe. Every single DNC consultant. The entire soy population liked that tweet. But anyways, Marjorie Taylor Greene responded with something even more fiery. You love to see it. And this tweet, honestly, should have, if that tweet had 660,000 likes, this tweet should have had 1 million likes. So Marjorie Taylor Greene responded and said, how about you explain why you don't support a pardon for Julian Assange and Edward Snowden? That could have been enough. It was game over. It was that's just fat W for Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's over. It's like, don't even think about replying to AOC, okay? Then she says, and then continue to explain why you are a shill for the military-industrial complex funding war in Ukraine. Holy shit.
Ouch.
Base from Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't agree with the last sentence because I support right to choose on principle. I support right to choose when it comes to vaccines. I don't think anyone should be forcing vaccines. Mandates, any of that shit. I think women should have the right to choose as well. But holy days from Marjorie Taylor Greene going after, and I gotta show you this too, because Samir Khan, friend of the show Samir Khan, subtweeted, and this is subtweeted this right here. This was so this is what AOC had to say about Julian Assange. AOC cool with pardoning Edward Snowden, but has concerns over pardoning Julian Assange. Explain these concerns that Snowden doesn't seem to share. He never did. Take a listen.
Could apply to either Trump or Biden if you believe that these individuals should be pardoned. Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, reality winner Daniel Hale, and others who have been charged under the Espionage Act because of leaking or publishing information that cut to the heart of some of the crimes of the American empire committed abroad. Should all of those people be pardoned by either Trump or Biden?
I do believe that Edward Snowden should be considered. I think there are considerations and concerns around Assange to just be completely frank.
Could apply to either Trump or Biden if you believe.
What are those concerns and considerations you have, AOC? Oh, that's right. She'll never say, because Nancy Pelosi will never allow her to say what those concerns and considerations are. Because they sound a little something like this. Well, Julian Assange gets free again, and then of course he's going to expose more deep state secrets. That's the truth, that's the whole honest truth, and AOC truthfully doesn't want him to be free. She doesn't want him to be exposing these secrets because it poses a risk to her future grip on power. Okay? So good stuff there from Marjorie Taylor Greene, and God, I wish we had more voices on these sorts of issues like her in DC. Alright, hey, thank you everyone for tuning in. It looks like we got a few super chats, so let me read these off and then we will get into the next story here. Okay. I have had Alexander Mercurius on the show. I don't know if you missed that. I had Alex Christophorou on the show as well, so that we had them on for a joint conversation. If you look up Duran Jackson Eagle, look them up. Alright. So thank you to Mark for the super chat. He said G7 leaders met in a castle in Bavarian town Schloss and Mall. That was a Nazi military vacation camp in World War II. Wow. Today's fascist nations claim to be democracy. That's insane. Jacob, thank you for the super chat, but it's also appropriate. ThinkPat20, thank you for the super chat. Thomas Massey or Matt Gaetz? No, I have not been able to reach out to Thomas Massey or to Marjorie Taylor Greene. So, look, I know there's probably some of you who are followed or know Marjorie Taylor Greene or Thomas Massey. I would love to have them on my show. I would love to have them on my show. If Thomas Massey or Marjorie Taylor Greene want to come on my show, I would love to have them on my show. I've reached out to both of them, and you reach out through like I'm sure they get some. It's like I don't have their email, so you just reach out through their like website. I'm sure they get like millions of like spam shit through that. So the likelihood of them even seeing my message is low. But I would love to have them on my show. So if anyone knows how to get in contact with me, please do reach out to me. My email is thedivejackson@gmail.com. Anna, thank you for the super chats. Todd Bernock, thank you for the super chat. Got to let the world move on. Neocons being Karens. Yep. Christopher, thank you for the super chat. Is it Maria Zakharova? No. Although she'd be great to invite on. The video game Hunger, thank you. Did you try to get Denis Pushlin on your channel, or any luck getting him on the dive? He might only speak Russian unless someone translates what you say to him and vice versa. I have not. I'd imagine that man is pretty damn busy right now. But I do believe he only speaks Russian, but I could easily have someone who only speaks Russian on. We could make that happen. Tosh, thank you for the super chat. Colonel Douglas McGregor. No, we've had him on, but I want to have him on again. Sam, thank you for the super chat. Jackson, will you consider writing a book one day? Yeah, I'd love to write a book. I'll definitely write a book one day. I love reading. I read every day. I probably read around 2 hours.
MTG straight up a hillbilly. Why you say that?
Kenny, thank you for the super chat. Nikita, thank you for the super chat. We got a few more. Mahmood, thank you for the super chat. I've said it before, but Julian Assange is to press freedom what Martin Luther King was to civil rights. Dan, thank you for the super chat. Yup, Ron Paul. Putin was riding a common herdsman pony in working gear, not some fancy shows. Yeah, I'm sure Ursula's not riding any common herdsman pony. Okay, thank you guys for all the super chats and support. Appreciate it. And let's get into the next story. Dennis speaks English, you know him. Would you like to connect me with Dennis Bushel? I would love that, Dennis Bushel on the show. Wouldn't that be something? Well, so far you guys have only guessed one of the three. And there's technically a fourth one I just thought of. I think we'll only have him on for a little bit. And that's going to be crazy too. If you like UFC, that one's... I don't know if any of you guys follow UFC. Alright, let's talk about Severodonetsk, because we've gone on long enough without addressing the main story today. Okay. So, oh no. Give me 1 second.
She believes more
1 second.
heat
Hold-
equals
stand by,
more
stand by.
crops.
The 4.5.
Who are we listening to?
It's actually probably 5,000.
We're listening to some guy who covers world news. I spam through a bunch of different news channels and I hear what these guys talk about and I comment on them. I'm waiting for it to get to the Ukraine part. As for the name of the guy that I'm listening to, I don't know.
Do you hold up. Hold up.
Yeah, a city.
Because again,
Control more of who that. Mark.
you guys remember when Azov something was like he made a bet with me or something? He's like, do you think they're gonna control more land? Russia's gonna control more land by the end of the week. I wanted to have that clip to start off the start of this section. While I'm doing this, you guys guess who else I'm bringing on the show. You guys can do that. I'll give you a hint. His name starts with R. We backed out when it was. Didn't we have it on
Twitter.
Woo! Yes.
Pretty good. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find this. We might just have to do this segment without finding this. That would have been so great to start off with.
Oh, sure. I hope, but Jackson Brady, I just don't feel you that if you don't have the Russian.
Okay, you. That was such a fun debate.
No, what are you doing?
We gotta do more debates here.
Oh.
Nutrition, so basically you don't keep them on your animal, protect them.
Out of war of attrition, proving. It,
So, right into the days, right?
Because they could have pulled that.
whatever. I don't think
Russia has said that they have.
I don't think we're gonna find it. I'll be actually about that. So, anyways. Okay. So look. Whatever. A few weeks ago, I debated Destiny, who's a popular video gamer who talks about politics, and a guy named Azov something. His real name's Adam something, but he's an Azov. He's an Azovite. He's an Azov supporter. He's a Banderite. So, anyways, we had a debate with him. Haas, the Infrared Show, and I had a debate with him, and it was the most one-sided debate I've ever been a part of. And towards the end of that debate, if you can call it that, Azov something said, Jackson, do you think that, I can't do his accent. Do you really think that Russia's going to have more territory under their control by the end of the month? Do you really think that Russia's going to have more territory under their control by the end of the month? I said, I think they're going to have more territory under their control by the end of the week. And I was right about that. Well, now, I guess the end of the month has come. It's probably been about a month since we last spoke with them. And, anyways, we now have an update from the war in Ukraine. And this has been confirmed by all the mainstream media sources that Azov Something and Destiny love to cite in their very hard-hitting commentary that they provide surrounding the war in Ukraine. And that is that the following just took place. The Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation and Ukraine have both announced that there has been a complete liberation of Severodonetsk, Gorovsky, Sirotino, and Voronezh. So I don't really know these last three towns, but we all know Severodonetsk. I mean, that's the main one. Okay, so anyways, Severodonetsk.
Redacted is also cool. I'm going to check them out too.
The most important battles that has taken place. It is the most important battle that has taken place throughout the war in Ukraine thus far, and Russia just had a complete victory. More on that in a second. But what I will say is that this was completely decisive. The Russians did not suffer large casualties, and for the most part, though there were, Ukrainians who surrendered and were captured, most fled back to Lysychansk, where now the Russians are moving in on. So this is a huge victory. Even Zelensky recognized that the fight for Severodonetsk was going to be one of the most important parts, one of the most important fights in the battle for Ukraine, and it was going to judge how the overall war moved forward from here on out. So let's get into this. Let's dive into some of the details. Okay, here we have reports here. Fighters of the Chechen Special Unit and the People's Militia, the LPR, during the cleaning of the territory of the chemical plant Azot in the liberated Severodonetsk of the LPR, found a cache with Western weapons, ammunition, and a machine gun. So here you have them walking through the Azot nitrogen chemical plant. You see them with their Z ribbons on there, and they found all these Western weapons that were just left behind, munitions and javelins, and a machine gun as well. This just goes to show that it was not a planned withdrawal, and even with their withdrawal back to Lysychansk, which was forced by the Russians, they couldn't really bring anything back because now the Russians control everything to the east of the Sversky Donetsk River. So this is a very important victory for Russia because they now control everything, literally everything to the east of the Sversky Donetsk River. So that was the key point here. That was the most important point here with this victory in this battle, that they now control everything to the east of the river line, okay? Here we have this. Ramzan Kadyrov says, in the context of false propaganda by pro-Western and pro-Nazi information resources, we stand for objective coverage of events in Donbass. For this reason, Chechen fighters organize a press tour for independent journalists from Severodonetsk to Toshkovka. So here you see them meeting with average residents, average civilians of Severodonetsk. They're very happy to see them. Ramzan Kadyrov, by the way, whose name happens to start with the letter R, is incredible. He is one of the military officials that is truly overseen this war and given a lot of advice to Putin on how this should proceed and what actions and steps they should take. One of the most important parts of the war, from his point of view, is to counter the Western narrative. The Western narrative that has been so unkind to him and alleging all these false, conspiracy theories regarding his leadership in Chechnya. He is the leader of Chechnya, okay? So, yeah, his name starts with the letter R. Anyways, let's keep going here. Here you have some more videos from on the ground. Today's booty, disgruntled Ukrainian soldiers leave behind truckloads of NATO ammo for Russian comrades as they flee. Ukrainian forces are tired of Zelensky's endless war, demoralized, depleted in numbers, casualty rates increasing. So here you have these Western arms. I mean, that's a ton. When you're talking about Ukraine that's running out of munitions, when you have Ukraine that's running out of artillery, and they're just leaving this stuff behind, I mean, that just goes to show that this was not like a quote-unquote tactical withdrawal. This was a forced withdrawal, happened probably in a very speedy fashion, far faster faster than Ukraine expected it to take place, and this did not go how they wanted it to go. So, some more videos here. Here's Ramzan Kadyrov again, whose name starts with an R, who says the industrial zone of Severodonetsk and the airports are completely released. 800 civilians were released. 800 civilians were released from the territory of the Azov plant. The airport is being cleaned from the remnants of gangs. Its entire territory is controlled. So this came out, and they've now gotten all the people, including fighters and civilians, out of the Azov plant. The Ukrainians were holding them down there for civilian, hostages essentially. And at the end of the day, we know this to be the case because it's exactly what unfolded in the Azovstal plant. Okay. Those 800 civilians were held down there as civilian hostages, and there's a bunch of Nazis in the Azov area in Severodonetsk, some of whom were captured. These were primarily Aidar battalion Nazis. For those of you who weren't following it, you saw a lot of Aidar battalion Nazis that were captured. You have more videos. Residents of Severodonetsk celebrated the arrival of Russian troops and their liberation from the Ukraine Nazi regime. Russian and Chechen forces are being welcomed as heroes of the population of Lugansk.
Bad luck.
There you have them waving the Victory Day flag.
That's a bad look.
I mean, it's just insane that so many in the West think that the people of these cities, Severodonetsk, Mariupol, hate the Russians or oppose the Russians. It's like, no, they're happy. They celebrate this as liberation. Would you want Nazis? Would you want the Aidar or Azovites or Banderites, ruling over you with an iron fist? No. No.
А вас кто-нибудь предупреждал о том, что вы можете выйти, что мы для вас организовывали коридор? Вот как мы и предполагали, никто их не предупреждал о том, что они могут выйти, что мы им организовали зеленый коридор.
Very happy to meet with them and liberate the town. Here you have employees of the Azot factory in Severodonetsk who say they are ready to start production in order to renew communications and provide water to the city. So now you have the workers who are ready to go back to work. Would this be happening if there was a Russian occupation that was brutal and oppressive? No. No, of course not. They're happy to get their city back up and operating under Russian control. This was a group of Ukrainian soldiers surrendering from the Azot factory. Single file lines, not too similar to what we saw in the Azovstal surrender, where we saw 2,400 people surrender. Here's some interesting stuff. In the suburb of Severodonetsk, an area called Medalkino, the surrender of members of the Nazi battalion Aidar was confirmed together with its leaders. So you have Aidar leaders. There you have the trident insignia right there. There you have again. These are Aidar leaders. Trident logo there, and a lot of their, munition supply and artillery supply. Oh, and there we have it. There's the Aidar logo, the Nazi Aidar logo with the red and black Nazi fascist flag. So they again.
All these black people on Twitter with Ukraine flags. I know, Julian, because they're actually stupid.
Hitlerite forces, right? Here's an interesting video. It's in Ukrainian, I believe, or Russian, but this is what it says. What the armed forces of Ukraine hear on the other side of the front in the Severodonetsk Lysychansk pocket through their radios is Zelensky has sold you out like he sold out Azov. No help is coming. You are encircled. There's no way out. Save your lives and surrender. So that's what they're telling them. That's what they're telling their own forces. And it's just sad to see. None of this had to happen. They fell for the lies. They fell for the Western lies. And now we see literal Nazis, like Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists, OUN Nazis, surrendering to the Russians, and civilians being freed. And none of this had to happen, but now it is happening, and Severodonetsk is under Russian control, and very soon they will be moving into Lysychansk. They've already, according to official reports, Russians have already taken a third of Lysychansk. Lysychansk is the last main city in the LPR that has yet to be taken by Russia. In addition to that, we know that they've taken a few major towns near Lysychansk just today alone. and that is where the primary Ukrainian holdouts are. They are very, very well entrenched in there. It's going to be difficult fighting for the Russians, the most difficult that they've seen thus far through the war, and they're very, very well entrenched in Lysychansk. I've heard reports it might take a week, 2 weeks for them to take Lysychansk. It could take longer. It could take longer. This is going to be a big fight. So we will continue to update this and report on this as the story goes along. But all I've got to say is I hope peace is reached, and I hope this comes to an end sometime soon. All right. Hey, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for the super chats. Appreciate those, and let me read a few of them off because we have a few new super chats, and then we'll get into the
Word
rest
up,
of the
what
news
up,
for
B?
today. Ollie, thank you for the generous.
Let me pause this for a second.
contribution.
We're doing some news tonight. 1 second, let me kill this mosquito. Got you, mother. Yeah, bitch. Yeah, you dead now. You dead. You dead. Anyway, so today I'm doing some late night news. I'm gonna hang out with you guys. You won't catch me over there. So today we had an actually decent day. Our goal is to hit $100 today. We've done 80 so far. I was trying to get the last 20 on Empress Now stream, but we didn't get enough donations, so we're down to $20 for today. Anyone wondering what the hell is Triforce talking about donation goal? Okay, so here's the deal, guys. Let me run it down to you. There's an anime convention here in Jamaica. They run it every year, with the exception of the last 2 years. Because of COVID-19, Jamaica's trying to step its game up in the anime community, right? The Valkyries want to get involved in into anime con this year, which is the annual anime convention. They made an agreement with the anime convention to become a presenting sponsor, get a huge booth, host 2 major big competitions in their booth, one with Just Dance and one with the mobile game Color Switch. There'll be some anime games there, Call of Duty, a little bit of cosplay, and some other stuff that the Valkyries will be doing. Forever Summer fan service, Bed Lounge Gaming, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Okay, so now in order for us to do that, we have the total money that we've been working on this since May, by the way. Total money we have to work on is $6,500. So we decided, I actually decided to go and help them find sponsors. We had 6 sponsors on the table. They all said yes. 3 of the sponsors, however, pulled out. 3 of the other sponsors have said yes. Unfortunately, we're waiting for the 3rd sponsor who keeps... Oh, I'm sorry. I was busy. We'll have to push this off. We'll get back to you. So we're still waiting on them. But in the meantime, we've raised about $1,000 and change on our own, plus the 2 sponsors that came in, which was Color Switch and Infinity Gelato. Big shout outs to them. The 3rd sponsor that's supposed to be coming on board said they are on board, but we have to wait for their official signing and the money to transfer over before we can name them a sponsor. We don't want to name them a sponsor, and they pull out on us. But 3 of the other sponsors have pulled out, and unfortunately, we're left with a $3,000 tab that we have to cover. So how do you cover that $3,000 tab that we have to cover to make sure that this is a great event for the Valkyries, and it'll make the Valkyries the most popular gaming and anime girl brand or icon brand? I don't know what you want to really call them, whatever, but influencers. Let's call them influencers and content creators in all of Jamaica. So it is important this is a key strategic event that the Valkyries need to actually make in order to blow up, so we can move on to our next task and goal for the Valkyrie and the Empire brand. So the only way we can do this is we have about 35 days. This contrary to the bars saying 22 days. We have up until July 25th, and today's the 28th. So we have 3 days, 2 more days remaining in this month, plus 25 days remaining in July. It's really like 27 something days to come up with $3,000. I have a bunch of I have like a podcast that I do every week that brings in about $100. I'm going to put all of that in, so that's 5 weeks, so that's about $500 right there. I have some personal friends that will help me out with a 50 here and 100 here per week, or whatever the case may be. But the rest of that money will have to come from raising money online via the stream. So I have to stream like twice a day, one in the daytime, one late at night like right now, and then Empress Nile and the Valkyrie stream in the evening time, anywhere between 7 to like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And our job is to try to raise $100 a day. If we do that for 25 days, they go $2,500. Plus, like I said, the $500 that I make from the podcast and the other money, that supplemented money that I get from my friends. to make the goal. So tonight's goal is $20 remaining. If anybody wants to help, even $1 helps. Help us get that goal tonight. I'm trying to get this $100 goal before I come off the stream tonight. So I'll be up until we make that 20. If you guys are wondering, how do I donate? Your donations will pop up on the screen right here. If you look in the pinned chat, you'll see the donation link. And I've also posted here in the chat, and it's also in the description as well. Unfortunately, I can't stream on Valkyrie fans anymore for any of the Valkyries because they banned all of the channels. Haters go on, say that the Valkyries are being inappropriate by wearing bathing suits at the pool. And because they're black and they're sexy, so guess what happens? Channel clapped. So now we're down to just YouTube. So now you guys have the heads up. Let's get back to the news. Wait, actually, let me read you guys' comments. Redacted got all the black people on Twitter. Okay, Bird Up, dopeness. What's going on, Bird Up? I really want to know if that's Phil. Is that you? I swear Bird Up is KDZ. And then Kisa, no it's not. Oh, okay. Dopeness. Okay, and then Kisa says you won't catch me over there. The Peace Corps had to issue a warning about Ukraine's calling black volunteers the N-word or monkey. Yeah, it's from Eric Andre's show. It's from Eric Andre's show. Oh, okay. Gotta be in a pool with a turtleneck and sweatpants. I keep saying it on here whenever you stream. I know, but my friend KDZ says Bird Up too as well. So that's why I'm like, yo, is that Phil? But alright. Well, welcome to the stream. You have any questions on dopeness? Let me know, man. I always like talking to you guys. We're gonna be here for a while. I'm at least gonna put in at least 3 to 4 hours. What is it? 1:22. So my cutoff time is 4 o'clock. So we got about 2 hours here. So we're gonna be here for about three hours straight, guys. Alright, let's get back to what Jackson is talking about.
Zelensky, thank you for the super chat. Say it out loud, Jackson. Is it Ramzan Kadyrov? We are in communication with the one that only Ramzan. Join us on the show. Clove, thank you for the super chat. Bear with me, guys. I unironically want to talk with Hassan on his stream or yours. You guys totally agree on Adam something being a proto-Nazi. He got in trouble for this take. He's also a Marxist. Hassan Piker is not a Marxist. Hassan Piker is a soy lib. AOC supporter. Pussycat, thank you for the super chat.
Julian says, I heard about the Peace Corps BS. No one on the planet respects us. Of course. I keep telling that to everyone. Black people getting into world affairs that have nothing to do with black people is the most stupidest thing ever. No one respects black people, African black people, not Africans, because there are white Africans, there are sand Africans, there are different people who do, they're not black, but they're African because they're born on the continent. So nationally, they're Africans. No one respects melanated dark people, period. When the Supreme Court Justice guy made his little comment about the overturn of Roe v. Wade, you saw a lot of white liberal women coming out of here saying stuff like, you stupid N-word, don't you understand some crap? I'm like, wow, so the N-word pops out now because the guy made look, I understand that he's making a Supreme Court decision on you, and whatever the case may be, but you're literally gonna call him a racial slur because he made a decision? That's crazy. So that it just goes to show you that, like, they only like us, and this is not all white people, just most in America. Actually, I shouldn't say in America, around the world. Most white people don't like us. They just tolerate us. That's just the reality. And then you have the average poor white people like us. Why? Because they live in the poor with us. So they can understand and they can relate with us. But middle class and rich white people, 90% of them don't like us and never will like us. They just tolerate us because it looks bad on them socially if they don't. So they just deal with it. But we're not their friends. Well, we'll be their friends, but they're damn sure ain't our friends. That's just what it is. Big, okay. I'm just gonna call you Big. What's going on? They like us when it appeases them. Yeah, pretty much. Let's get back to the news.
For the super chat. Okay. Let's keep going here.
Thank you, Kisan. Facts. I come from Twitch. Oh, what's going on? 1 second, because I know Jackson's gonna say something. You come from Twitch. Where's my girls? If they're your girls and you want to know where your girls is, you should go to the girls channel. You shouldn't be here with men at night listening to the news. The girls were here. I don't know why you weren't on when they were on. If you look at that thumbnail, that was a thumbnail 2 days ago, and then they were on a little bit earlier. So I don't know what to tell you where they are. I see them on the screen though. Yeah, because it's a thumbnail. Thumbnail is a static picture, and then the other video that you see on the top is their professional shot retreat that they had, that the Lab Video Game TV covered for E Plus TV here in Jamaica. I don't know if you've noticed it, it keeps replaying over and over again. So yeah. Oh, so you're asking. Oh, I thought you were being sarcastic. That's why I was answering you in the same sarcastic manner. I just didn't know. When you come on the show and you go, "Where's my girls?" That kind of puts you in the troll category. I gotta like, my girls, they're your girls. So that's why I had to reply to you that way. I'm trying to look for Valkyrie fans. Oh, all the Valkyrie fans channels on Twitch are gone. That's why the Valkyries told you guys, go to their main channel, because they're not original. See, here's one of the problems a lot of the guys on Valkyrie fans don't know. The Valkyries do not come from Twitch. They're originally from YouTube. A friend told them you should go on Twitch, you would blow up. So they decided to try Twitch. And from July of last year all the way till now, which is pretty much a whole year, they've been attacked. Guys have come on, dropped N-words on them, report their channel. Girls are inappropriately dressed because they're in bikinis in a pool, and they just attacked, and every one of their channels have been banned. Empress Now's original channel, which jumped from 0 to 8,500 in 1 month, permabanned. Valkyrie fans, permabanned. Valkyrie fans 2, permabanned. Valkyrie fans 876, permabanned. So every time they make a channel, just keep getting banned. So they just, whenever they a Valkyrie fans channel come up, they just tell people go to their YouTube page. And those who don't listen, well, when they go live at the beach or they go to the pool, they miss out. Let me see some. Losing track of your girls is not pimping. Pimping. What? Oh. Bullshit. Why? Don't get me wrong, I love chocolate. I just make this. What do you mean you just make this? I'm lost here. Oh, you made this account on YouTube because there's no Valkyrie fans. Yeah, well, that's not something I can control. That's not something they can control. Racist guys go in and just attack their channels and get it banned. At least you know where they are. So you can always just go and subscribe to their channel. If you subscribe to their channel, when they go live, they're planning to do a retreat, a pool retreat and a hot tub retreat, and there will not be any Twitch. In fact, they said they're trying to, Niall said she's going to talk to the guys at Valkyrie fans and tell them, don't make another page. She doesn't even want Valkyries on Twitch anymore. Like, people interested in getting with the Valkyries, they can come on YouTube. If they didn't find them on Valkyries, it's whatever. That's an unfortunate situation. I love Empress Now. Well, make sure, are you subscribed to Empress Now's YouTube channel? Big? Wow, oh, can't believe I made that mistake. Send the link. Okay. I'm putting a link in the chat. Anybody else who are here who has never subscribed to Empress Now's channel, there go the link. In fact, if you actually subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell, a notification will come up live on the stream showing that you've actually followed their channel or her channel and whatnot. So, and then they have all types of fan service videos on their YouTube channel that you can see, all the twerking and the cheeks that you want. It's all there. That's why we tell people, go to the YouTube channel, because they be like, come on, twerk. I'm like, just go to the YouTube channels there. Nah, just do it on Twitch. I'm like, you can't do that on Twitch. I'm like, you'll get banned for it. They don't listen. A word, I subbed. No alert. It's supposed to come up if you subbed. Let me see something. Where is this thing here? Unsub from her channel real quick. Let me see something. I wonder if the subs only work. Let me see something here. Unsub to her channel. I'm gonna do something myself. Let me go to her channel. I want to see if there's something, because a lot of people have been complaining that subs don't work and on YouTube. Like, you'll sub but it doesn't. So I'm gonna go try to sub to her channel right now. I'm gonna unsub. You see, it says I'm subscribed, right? Unsubscribe, right? And then now I'm gonna subscribe on the channel. Subscription added. Wow. No alert. Okay, give me a second. Give me a second. Maybe I need to refresh the sub alert. YouTube sub alert. Let's see. Refresh, right? Okay. So I'm gonna unsubscribe. I refresh the catch. Let's see if it happens. Well, this is crazy. Damn, I don't know why it's not coming up. This is a problem I gotta somehow fix. YouTube has these stupid problems, like in terms of people subbing. So just sub to the channel, and so when she goes live, you'll make sure you hit the notification bell, click all, so that when she goes live, which she will go live tomorrow, you'll catch the live. I don't know why that's not working, but thank you for the heads up, because I don't know what the hell that is. Why there's no like there's no sub alert. Let me see something here. If you drop a donation though, you'll definitely see a nice little gift come up. So thanks. I sub again. Yeah, you should sub again if you I don't think it's gonna come up because I don't know what the hell the problem is, but like even I just unsubscribed and subscribed and the notification never popped up. I don't know what's going on with that. Let me check something here. Alright, let me refresh Streamlabs on her end. See, Trap Yoshi subscribed. Alright, I'm gonna, here's Trap Yoshi. He subscribed 5 hours ago on her channel. This is what's supposed to happen if you subscribe. So you see, it says thank you Trap Yoshi for subscribing to Empress Now's channel. You see, I went into her stream labs and I just re-clicked the subscription, and that's what's supposed to happen. I don't know what's going on, why it's not working for me and you. Absolute nonsense.
On the way. Drop a like if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe if you haven't done so yet. And we are going to move into the next one. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Ramzan, Kadirov, Ron Paul. There's one more. You guys probably only guessed the third one. Third one's sick, dude. What do you guys think about those outdoor videos I was doing? I was so hot this morning. It was like it was 10 a.m. It was sunny out. I was sweating. But I think if I just do like one outdoor video today, one outdoor video a day, I'm not gonna sweat that much, and it's kind of fun. Kind of fun. I get why Alex Christopher likes it. Let's see. Oh my god, wait, this story's so nuts. You're not gonna believe this. This is actually breaking news too, kind of. Matt's retiring. Thank you for the super chat. Congrats on retiring. You were taking heat on GE stream. What's the beef? Who's GE? GE? Who is GE? Does anyone know who GE would be?
I was even asking about that. If he has to ask who the person is, clearly the person's not worth it. We were talking about, wow. Good job, kid.
Thank you to the video game Hunger for the super chat. Can you imagine the reaction of leftists if Elon Musk cloned Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis each 100 times? I'm not really a big Ron DeSantis fan. I don't think he's going to be that stellar on foreign policy. ThinkPad20, thank you for the super chat. Outdoor videos were great. Keep it up. Okay, I'm glad you liked them. Oh, Graham Elwood? Graham Elwood? Thank you, ThinkPad20 again. Graham Elwood, the guy that no one listens to. Listen, I really can't waste my time talking about Graham Elwood when I'm getting more concurrent viewers than the Young Turks. It's just how it is. Vlad, thank you for the super chat. Mike Tyson for guests would be legendary. I feel like if we do that, it's got to be in person. Okay. All right. This next story is literally going to blow your mind. It's gonna blow your mind. Dude, Ramzan will get you banned. Will Ramzan Kadirov interviewing him get me banned?
Oh, messed up.
I could always just upload it to YouTube for like a day and then put it on my blog. Matt's retiring. Thank you. Graham Elwood fans. Yeah. I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying a problem if he is. But and I seriously do. I care for him and his health and whatever. And I'm saying this sincerely. Like, do you think Graham Elwood has ever considered he might be retarded? Like, do you think? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think this is a serious concern. Lurch, thank you for the super chat. You should interview Ryan Dawson. Okay, let's get into the next story. Yes, we are going to talk about Brics later. We're going to talk about Brics and Brics expansion.
Why are you so quiet? This chat.
Dan, thank you for the super chat.
The chat is
Any
BS.
horseman worth his salt knows Putin's.
Alright, here's the thing. It's not that anyone is quiet or anything. It's just that we're listening to the news. So unless you have a question for me to commentate, I want to hear what Jackson is saying so that I can commentate on the news. Because he has some breaking news going on in the Ukraine war. After this, I'll probably head over to a different news source and get some stuff. And I'm really just sitting here talking to you. So I need to react off of you guys. I got to feed off of you guys. So Give me something to talk about, and something other than Empress Now's ass being so big. That's what he said. Damn it. All the eggs are done, right? They're not? Shit, I would like to have Can you make me a ramen? Hey, have you looked in the sink in the kitchen? Hey guys, hold on for a second. Let me show you something. Let me show you something.
Oh my.
Hey guys, I apologize for that. Had to go go, what's the word for this? Put some stuff on the stove. You can't text anyway. Okay, let me see something. Why so quiet? You can't hear text anyway. Oh, that too.
Equestrian photo sends the message. He's a man of the people, not the illusion. I saw some horses this weekend. I love horses. When I was with my family in San Diego, we went wine tasting. Never been wine tasting. Went wine tasting at Vertec Family Vineyard in Encinitas. Great time. They have horses there. They have horses there. Okay. So anyways, let's take a look at this. So, there's one more. Video Game Hunger, thank you for the soup chef. And again, I really do appreciate all the support.
Where's
Jackson,
the
you might have been
Empress?
doing donate money to you before you got banned from some site.
She's
You guys think I don't?
she's where she's
Why
at.
would Vladimir Putin
Wherever
donate
that
money
is.
to me?
Oh shit. Damn it.
I appreciate that you think of me in such high regards, but no. Alright, let's take a look at this. So, the New York Times just dropped a very interesting report. And usually when the New York Times drops an interesting report, there's something deeper at play. Not always. You know, sometimes they just do solid reporting. 12 months after they should have done that report. But that's neither here nor there, because they just released a very interesting story. I happen to believe it's politically motivated, the drop of it. And this is what they had to say. Commando network coordinates flow of weapons in Ukraine, officials say. A secretive operation involving U.S. Special Ops forces hints at the scale of the effort to assist Ukraine's still outgunned military. Now, what I'll say about this is we've known for quite a while that Ukraine has like 30 plus NATO battalions or brigades, whatever, that have been trained to NATO standards. They're probably one of the top NATO fighting forces. They probably were one of the top NATO fighting forces in all of Ukraine. In addition to that, we know that the U.S. was training Ukrainian forces in the U.S. for several years, Ukrainian special ops in the south, Ukrainian military personnel all across the country in secret, probably CIA, operations. We don't really know, because every time they mention the CIA or the Ukrainian military training in the U.S., they never say where it was happening, how many people were being trained. They're very secretive. We know it's a lot, though. We know it's a lot. Okay, well, anyways, the New York Times is publishing about this now. They say, Washington, as Russian troops press ahead with a grinding campaign to seize eastern Ukraine, the nation's ability to resist the onslaught depends more than ever on help from the United States and its allies, including a stealthy network of commandos and spies rushing to provide weapons, intelligence, and training, according to U.S. and European officials. Much of this work happens outside at bases in Germany, France, and Britain, for example. But even as the Biden administration has declared it will not deploy American troops to Ukraine, some CIA personnel have continued to operate in the country secretly, mostly in the capital, directing much of the vast amounts of intelligence the United States is sharing with Ukrainian forces, according to current and former officials. At the same time, a few dozen commandos from other NATO countries, including Britain, France, Canada, and Lithuania, also have been working inside Ukraine. The United States withdrew its own 150 military instructors before the war began in February, but commandos from these allies either remain or have gone in and out of the country since then, training and advising Ukrainian troops and providing on-the-ground conduit for weapons and other aid, three U.S. officials have said.
Give me a second, guys. I'll read comments in a second.
CIA personnel or the commandos are doing, but their presence in the country on the top of diplomatic staff members who returned after Russia gave up its siege of Kiev hints at the scale of the secretive effort to assist Ukraine that is underway.
Wow, he
and
got
the risks
clapped.
that Washington and its allies are taking. So now, this wouldn't be.
Let me see what's being said. I would smash, but she's out of my league. Yeah, she's definitely out of your league. Way out of your league. But I still want to smash. Doesn't everybody? Back to Jackson.
Out of the press, if it weren't for, some people, someone within the upper echelons of power of the Democratic establishment was saying, like, we're kind of worried about how far Joe Biden is going literally would not be putting this out there unless they wanted to tamper down Biden's tone on Ukraine and his commitment to Ukraine. Okay? So anyways, that was a crazy story. We have a little bit of a brief summary here from ASB military news as to what was going on. Dozens of NATO commandos are working on the territory of Ukraine, as well as CIA operatives. CIA operatives are directing weapon deliveries from Kiev. NATO commandos are likely working with Ukrainian military units and providing recon and targeting coordinates and calculations. Wouldn't be surprised you can't train a Ukrainian on how to use a firefighter radar system in a matter of a day.
You ask worshiping, go over to our Instagram.
NATO provided tablets enables Ukrainians to use NATO satellites to target Russian forces, and it's highly likely these tablets are being closely guarded by those very same NATO forces present on the ground in Ukraine. Russia has said this since the start of the war. Now the New York Times admitted it. This whole time, this was Russian propaganda, according to the BBC, Sky News, CNN, Twitter experts, and all other pro-Ukrainian trash. All right. But if you think that's crazy, if you think that's wild, outrageous, insane, then, well, wait till you see this. Wait till you see this. Because that's just the tip of the iceberg.
You don't need
Really know is
Instagram to go visit view a person's
again,
Instagram.
Russia's been saying this all along. It's been called disinformation. It's been
All you need is an internet. There goes her TikTok as well. You don't need to have the app to view their page. You just go there, you click the link, and you'll show there. You'll go up there, and you just can't DM the person, but you can see all their content there.
propaganda. But there's been a lot of evidence that it's actually been true. While Russia's been saying other things, like there's NATO command that was locked down in the Azovstal steelworks bunker, which was completely, surrendered just several weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And there was 2,400 people that turned up out of that Azovstal steelworks bunker and surrendered to the Russians, mostly Azov Nazis, but also mercenaries and other fighters from Ukraine. Well, now we're getting some really interesting news, scary news out of Ukraine and the Azovstal steelworks as the investigations into what was going down there begin. Okay, because for the first while after Azovstal was cleared out, they had to demine the area. They had to make sure there was no bombs, no booby traps. Now they're going in and investigating what is really going on down in that Azovstal steelworks bunker. Now we have some news. A crematorium. A crematorium was found in Azovstal, where Azovites, the Azov Nazi battalion of Ukraine, the same ones that were waging an 8-year war against, the rebels in the Donbass and Donetsk and Lugansk for the past 8 years, where they killed 14,000 people there. The Azovites burned bodies of American and foreign mercenaries. Amongst the ashes, American sniper rifles were found. Fragments of American passports and other documents were also found. It is not understood why they burned them, considering the fact that the Ukrainians claimed that there was a refrigerated morgue in the bottom of the Azovstal factory. Now, the morgue that they claimed was, there was not actually a morgue, a refrigerated morgue. It was just a pit that they were throwing these bodies in. But they were bagging these Ukrainian bodies, and they were trying to, I guess, dispose of them in the best way possible that they could, as they were hunkered down in these bunkers. But some of them were not backed up, and they were stuck down. Okay, so here you see an American ID. I don't know if that's a passport card or what that is, but it's a passport card. So that's an American passport card. Why is there an American passport card that has been burned up with bodies and sniper rifles at the bottom of the Azovstal steelworks where there's a bunch of Nazis? Is that a good question to ask? It's a question that no one in the New York Times is going to ask, despite the fact that they're reporting on this and they're like, oh, we're so brave, we're reporting on this. Well, what about this? What about the American passports that are being burned?
That's crazy.
Why are there American passports, and why is there American clothes, and why is there American sniper rifles What are snipers doing with these Azov Nazis and this Azovstal Steelworks? Why are American documents being found out? This is very, very, very sus. Very sus. And yeah, even if they were already dead, someone says they were already dead, question mark. Even if they're already dead, why are they burning them up? Because when it came to the Ukrainians, they were putting them all in the same room. I mean, there's plenty of videos you can find online if you have a queasy stomach. I don't recommend looking at it, but you can find plenty of videos where they were just, they were storing all the bodies of the dead Ukrainian soldiers in the Azovstal bunker. So why did they burn them? Why did they burn their bodies? Why did they try to burn their records, their passports? There's a few soldiers from America who've been missing for quite some time. We don't know where they are, what they're doing, where they've been. It's possible that some of them ended up in that fire. It is possible.
That's
Very
crazy.
sus story. Hopefully we get the answers soon enough. Soon enough. Very sus. Americans presumably burned up at the bottom of the Azovstal Steelworks bunker while their Ukrainian counterparts were put in body bags in a non-refrigerated morgue at the bottom of the plane. Alright, hey, thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate the support. I don't know if we got any super chats, so let me just double check here to see. Oh, we did. We got a few. Amaze, thank you for the super chats. Watch NATO use of depleted uranium during 1999 bombing of Yugoslavia leaves Serbia 97,000 cancer patients. So sad. So sad. Okay. Gotta cover it up. Gotta cover it up. Alright? One big cover.
Yeah, but what are they covering up is the question.
Okay, let's take a look at this. So, everyone be sure to drop a like on the stream, subscribe if you haven't done so. Help us to our goal of 200,000 subscribers, okay? You might remember a few weeks ago we covered a story in which Patrick Lancaster traveled to a passport center in formerly Ukraine, now Russian-controlled Ukraine, in which a former Ukrainian military commander defected to Russia. This is partially what he had to say. He had put down his arms and he was trading his citizenship with his wife for citizenship of the Russian Federation. These are some of the words he had to say. He said, we have an important day today. We arrived with my wife. After much thinking and talking, we decided to apply for citizenship of the Russian Federation. We want to live in a free new country on the territory of Kherson so that we can be confident in the future. And today, here on the territory of Kherson, this is provided only by the military administration and units of the Russian Federation. Taking this opportunity, I would like to appeal to my former subordinates, military personnel of the territorial defense, so that they make the right choice and follow my path. Some instructions from the leadership of the armed forces of Ukraine, by cunning and deceit, force these people who stayed here without leaving, without being able to do so, to collect data on the equipment of the Russian Federation, its movements, calculate some coordinates, conduct armed resistance. In particular, after receiving such data, strikes were launched on some settlements to destroy either these coordinates or these targets, or cause the destruction of something else. Civilian infrastructure, I assume he's referring to. Some technique or installation or position, but right in the Kherson region, Chernobivka itself, in my native village, as a result of these bombings, these strikes, about 200 houses were damaged. So here he discusses the fact that yes, he does want to defect to the Russian Federation. He feels the Russians are the only way that they will be able to maintain peace in Kherson. And now we're seeing another very interesting thing play out. Again, filmed by, I believe it was Patrick Lancaster. Oh no, this is Haas who filmed this, okay? So So here we have it. 2 Ukrainian soldiers taken prisoner refused to be exchanged for Ukraine and applied for Russian citizenship. We just
Whoa.
also look at how many people are out here waiting to apply for Russian citizenship. This would not be happening if there was, mass opposition to the Russian way of life, to Russian leadership, Russian control. That's really, really something to note here. But here you have 2 Ukrainian military personnel, young men, who are deciding not to, go to Russian prisons or DPR prisons and be exchanged for Ukrainian, and a POW exchange. I guess it would be exchanged for Russian prisoners of war captured by Ukraine. And this has happened. There's been literally even there was an Azov medic who was given back to Ukraine in a prisoner exchange. So the thing is, this very well could happen. They didn't have to do this. They only did this because they wanted to. They don't want to go back to Ukraine.
Guys, hold on.
They want to become a part of the Russian Federation. They want to become Russian citizens. And I think it's just so important to look at this stuff because A, it's a wise decision, but B, it's this is truly what is going to actually result when Russia takes more and more land in Odessa and Zaporizhia and all of these cities, because they understand that Russia is going to do more to protect them than a U.S. co-opted Ukrainian government, than, say, a Nazi-infiltrated Ukrainian government. They understand that Russia is going to have their best interests at heart, or at least more at heart, than, say, Zelensky or Petro Poroshenko or Yatsenyuk or any of these people. It's just not the case. And for that reason, these young men have decided to defect to Russia. Now, this isn't an easy decision. I mean, if you lived in your country your entire life and a war began and you were fighting on one side of the war, even if you were forced to fight on one side of the war, probably wouldn't be that easy to make a decision to defect to the country you were fighting against. But very brave decision here, a good decision for these young men who were probably forced into the war to begin with and scripted to fight when they probably didn't want to. And they're investing in their future. They're saying they want to become part of Russia officially, and they're going to take the legal steps now to become Russian citizens. And they don't look old, maybe 18, 20 years old, probably suffering from some malnutrition as a result of the poor situation on the ground for Ukrainian fighters. But very interesting, Ukrainian soldiers defecting to Russia, refusing to be exchanged in a prisoner swap for Russian POWs captured by Ukraine. Wouldn't be surprised if we see more of that in the future. Alright. Thank you to Tuco for the super chat. Kiev was hit with missiles according to MS. Problem is Ukraine's SAMS took each other out, so the Russian missiles were able to sail on through. I don't know what you're referring to.
Let me read the chat.
Ricardo says Richard Menners. No, not Richard Menners. Okay. I believe we have some new members on our locals page, so let me pull that up.
Okay. That's very sus, but yeah.
Thank you to
Big.
Vladimir G92 for joining as a member, or one-time supporter. And thank you to Bangkok Basha for joining as a monthly member on Locals. If you too would like to support the show, you can join as a member here on YouTube by clicking the join button below, or joining as a member on my Patreon or Locals using the link I just sent in the chat. Alright? G7 met this week, and we also saw Brics nations meet this week, and they met over...
That's what I wanted to hear. G7 and the Brics.
An online meeting that they had, an online forum they had, but some really, really big developments took place. Now, what's so interesting about the developments with the Brics right now is that if the plans went according to what the West wanted to happen, well, BRICS A would not be successful, but they would not be expanding or talking about de-dollarization as viable path forward for their organization, for their coalition. Okay, but that's exactly what's happening. Let's take a look at some of the developments from the Brics Summit, which is a coalition, a strategic coalition between Brazil, who has their own currency, the real, which is performing quite well. Russia, who's got the ruble, top performing currency in the world right now, this year. We also have, of course, India, who's got the rupee, performing quite well because they're doing a lot of preferential trade with Russia, and they're doing this trade in rupees primarily. You also have, of course, you have China, yuan, which is doing quite well because you're doing a lot of trade with Russia in yuan. And then you've got South Africa as well. Okay, so very interesting group here that's meeting, and it's kind of like I would say the global opposition to say NATO and the EU and all these groups combined, and they're doing really incredible things right now. Right? Let's take a look. 2 countries applied to join BRICS. Iran, official state baddie of the United States, Iran and Argentina, a historically Western aligned countries, see potential in Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. The Islamic Republic of Iran has officially submitted its application to join the group of 5 leading economies made up of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
Uh-oh.
The foreign ministry in Tehran announced on Monday. The move comes after the Iranian president addressed the BRICS Summit last week. While BRICS is not a treaty bloc, it has a very creative mechanism with broad aspects. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Saeed Khatibzadeh said on Monday, according to the Tasnim news agency. He added that Tehran has already had a series of consultations with BRICS about the application. Iran's membership would add value for everyone involved, noting that BRICS members account for up to 30% of the world's GDP and 40% of the global population. That's just a staggering number. You have the West walking around like they own the world, but here you have BRICS, a relatively, new in scope organization that is growing significantly right now and will be over the next several years. I mean, they're talking about bringing Indonesia, of all countries, into BRICS. They already represent 40% of the global population. I mean, that's just insane. On Friday, Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi addressed the BRICS virtual summit hosted by China and expressed Tehran's readiness to share capabilities and potentials with the group. Argentina has also applied to join BRICS. President Alberto Fernandez on Friday urged the creation of cooperation mechanisms that could represent the alternative to ostensibly private institutions run by and in the interests of the West. During the session on Wednesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin said the 5-member group was working on setting up a new global reserve currency based on a basket of currencies of our countries. Okay, and that is exactly what they're doing. Russia names conditions for BRICS global reserve currency. This is de-dollarization in action. More transactions in national currencies of member states are needed first, according to Moscow. A new international reserve currency based on BRICS currency basket requires more transactions to be made in national currencies, Russia's Ministry of Economic Development suggested on Monday. The reliance on the US dollar and the euro also has to be reduced. Business outlet RBC quoted a ministry official. To launch a new reserve currency, it is necessary to build a joint financial architecture, increase the share of settlements in national currencies, reach a certain level of de-dollarization, something that is happening already in BRICS countries. Nikita Kontratayev of the Department of Multilateral Economic Cooperation and Special Projects of the Ministry of Economic Development, told RBC. Okay, so this is really incredible stuff. You have the ability for these BRICS nations to abate their reliance on Western economies and Western currency. What are they going to do to head in this direction? Well, they are going to continue doing what they're currently doing right now. Lots of trade in preferential currencies like rubles, rupees, yuan, and real. Trading for not just oil, not just gas, not just coal, but also eventually for probably things like lumber and fertilizer and agricultural goods and metals and raw minerals. what is going to pave the path towards de-dollarization and the establishment of a new currency, or I guess an alternative to the dollar, the global dollar, as a global reserve currency made up of a basket of the currencies of Brics nations. In addition to that, we see Argentina, we see Iran of all countries, who poses a large threat to the U.S., applying to join this Brics alignment, which I'm sure does not sit well with the likes of Anthony Blinken and William Burns and Mike Pompeo and Joe Biden, but that's exactly what we're seeing now, and there's nothing that they can do to stop it. On that note, you guys, pretty tired between the Jimmy Dore show and this, and we covered a lot of stories already, quicker than I imagined. So I'm going to peace out. I'll be back here tomorrow, without a doubt, 100% I'll be back here tomorrow, by same time, 7 p.m. I'll catch you guys all then. Thank you so much for tuning in here, and I hope you all have a great rest of your night. If you haven't become a member on my locals page or my Patreon, please do consider joining as members using the link I'm going to send in the chat right now. Support the show. We'll have some videos up tomorrow morning. Be sure to share them when you see them posted, and share them with friends, family, your grandma, your ex, whatever. I don't care. Share them far and wide, because they're great videos. People need to hear the truth, and I'm sure most people don't want to sit through an hour-and-a-half long live stream and watch me go through all the stories and go through the super chats in between. So share the videos with your friends. It means a lot. It gets the information out there. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back here tomorrow. We're going to raid my friend Haas at the Infrared Show. He's great. He's got a new camera. He's looking stellar. So be sure to drop a like on his stream, but more importantly, subscribe to his channel, because he does great work. Okay? I'll catch you guys all back here tomorrow. Peace out. As always, Buck Dick Cheney. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, big news tomorrow, right? All right, everybody. Peace out. Thank you for being here.
Okay, next channel. What are we looking at? Manny Gaming. What's good, bro? What's going on, Manny? Haven't seen you in a while. Doing a late night stream for the girls. We have a goal we're trying to make. I'm just trying to listen to some news, talk to some people I haven't heard from in a very, very long time. We're trying to make this $20 donation goal to make our goal for the night, to help the Valkyries get a actual what's the name of this thing here? A booth at AnimeCon, annual Jamaican anime convention. So that's what we're pretty much doing. I'm gonna run until 4 o'clock. Hopefully we'll see what comes up. Well, how you doing, Manny? What you doing, D? He's not streaming, is he? Okay, it's just his channel. I just watched that. This was what, 2 months ago? I don't care about that. Let's hit up Redacted. Redacted. Let's see what's going on with Redacted. Anything?
Biolabs is a story we've been covering.
That's 8 days ago. You gotta be kidding me. You gonna tell me there's nothing new on Redacted? 11 hours ago. Can it be truth on the net? Okay, let's take a listen to this.
Well, a few studies out about natural immunity are throwing a wet blanket on the medical community because they are exposing some uncomfortable data. One in which shows that natural immunity, which means that immunity from people who were infected with the virus, shows to be just as strong, if not stronger, in terms of lasting protection than people who received inoculations.
Yeah, here's the cover of the British Journal of Medical Ethics today. Here's what they say in this new study. Now, this is not our opinion on this show. This is the journal, and this is what the journal says. We're quoting what the Journal of Medical Ethics says. I'm going to quote it verbatim, okay?
Uh-oh.
Here's what it says. While we clearly cannot settle the scientific debates on this point, we suggest that we lack clear and convincing scientific evidence that vaccine-induced immunity has a significantly higher protective effect than natural immunity. Since vaccine requirements represent a substantial infringement of individual liberty, as well as imposing other significant costs, they can only be justified if they are necessary for achieving a proportionate public health benefit. Without compelling evidence for the superiority of vaccine-induced immunity, it cannot be deemed necessary to require vaccination for those with natural immunity. Subjecting them to vaccine mandates is therefore not justified.
So this is a policy paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is saying that in stating mandates that says everyone must take this pharmaceutical product, right, or else they are precluded from public life, does not take into account the fact that we all have separate bodies with separate levels of immunity, and that there should not be an overarching policy about everybody. There is not the data to show that. Now, the data does show strong immunity from COVID vaccines, absolutely, and reduced mortality. But what this paper is arguing, again, is against blanket policies.
And Dr. John Campbell, who's done a great job, he's a very clear, concise, thoughtful voice on this. Dr. John Campbell points out that the oddness of sort of this one-size-fits-all approach, he looks at a number of these natural immunity studies. Here's what he has to say about it.
We need to treat people on an individualised basis, not this one-size-fits-all basis. Why are governments going for this one-size-fits-all basis in their guidelines? All of the included studies found at least statistically equivalence between the protection of full vaccine and natural immunity. So same, that they are the same in this data. And 3 studies found superiority of natural immunity.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Then you have the New England Journal of Medicine out with a new study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, backing up these claims that natural immunity provides greater protection from COVID-19 infection than multiple doses. Natural immunity wins again, Johns Hopkins Dr. Martin Macri tweeted alongside a link to the study. Here's Marty Macri, a doctor from Johns Hopkins. Natural immunity wins again. New England Journal study, natural immunity protection was higher than that conferred after the same time had elapsed since receipt of a second dose among previously uninfected persons, and a link to the study.
And this, as we continue to have more data, not just about the antibodies, which a year ago, people were testing antibodies sort of in this quantified life, oh, can I go on that vacation? Let's test my antibodies. But now we know antibodies are not the only game in town. There are several things and several markers about your immunity. And these studies that come in also look at T cells and other health markers that would provide evidence of a more holistic immunity to COVID.
Jimmy in our chat says, bro, these studies are so late to the party. I feel the same way, bro. Really. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? It really is. So and then Marty,
DM it to me, Zamosa.
Doctor from Johns Hopkins says, what's the motivation to push one plan over the way? He says, well, where's the humility right now of the public health officials to simply say, hey, we got this so wrong? Macri questioned in a second tweet. Many lives were ruined. Credibility was lost. And tragically, these doses were rationed to those with natural immunity. Early in the vaccine rollout, as non-immune seniors died clamoring to get those vaccines, right?
Yes.
So that's really, think about that for a second. That in all of that craziness in the beginning of this, right? They were just, without any awareness, or maybe not awareness, or focus on natural immunity, and because we didn't have enough vaccines, right? They were just giving them out to people who had natural immunity.
Just whoever could get an appointment.
When
for
there were
vaccination.
people that could have actually used them.
But there were countries taking that into effect. For instance, where we live in Portugal, if you had been diagnosed with COVID, you were ineligible to make your appointment for inoculation for at least 6 months. And even after 6 months, you could only get 1 dose, not 2, because they were taking into effect the natural immunity from a positive diagnosis. So some countries did do something like this, but not the United States. It just was, hey, they were like Jello shots. Come and get them.
Dr. Campbell points out that, well, what's the motivation here in one plan over another? So Dr. Campbell has an idea of why they chose one over the other.
So why is it that national agencies are not taking into account natural immunity? It's almost as if they're trying to push out as many vaccines as possible. Now that was good in the past, now the risk-benefit analysis has changed. So why are they doing this? Is it still this simplistic idea that we better not share any nuance with the public, that we better just say everyone gets vaccinated and that's the end of it? So all the plebs go, oh, we need to get vaccinated and that's the end of it, let's trot off and get vaccinated. Is that what they're saying? If so, that's insulting. Or is it something more than that we're not being made aware of? I'll leave that one with you.
Yeah, well, I get the idea of maybe not having full trust in a population for getting all of their inoculations. For instance, why do they offer tiny babies 6 or 7 shots when they are 2 months old, right? It's because they say, well, we're not sure, we don't trust the parents to come back for all of these, so we get in as many as we can.
Like
in the first,
measles, mumps, rubella.
yes, all of those. I mean, we're not talking about COVID, we're talking about other shots that babies get, right? And so I remember going to our pediatrician and saying, I don't want him to have 6 shots today. He's 2 months old. Give him 2, and I'll come back in a few weeks. And he goes, the reason we do this is we just don't know if the parents will come back. And so I said, well, I promise I'll come back. Let's just space this out. And I did. And so the idea from the medical community, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, is that there's just this sort of lack of trust in us being responsible. And yes, that's insulting.
Okay, or is it something entirely different? Which is
perhaps
this,
I'm just
okay.
Alternative.
Well, let me give you another alternative, which is this Forbes cover. This Forbes
Team
story,
Fortress 2?
Dr. Campbell
Didn't know you play that.
Oh, the biopharmaceutical industry provides 75% of the FDA's drug review budget. Is this a problem? We'll just throw this out there. So the biopharmaceutical complex is 75%
pays the agency that is supposed to be policing them.
Right.
I would say that's a problem, yes.
That's like, again, I come back to Coca-Cola doing funding a study on sugar. Like, what are the health benefits of sugar in Coca-Cola? Funded by
Well,
Coca-Cola.
and that was a major problem all along. Is like most of the articles that we got initially were all funded by, like, people would share articles with me and say, no, go read this, and I'd go in and then I'd see one of the contributors was the CEO from Moderna. It's like, you're sending me articles that have been manipulated potentially by the pharmaceutical, and all the people that had something different were all marginalized. You've got doctors that knew about the natural immunity from the beginning that had been marginalized. So it's like, it seems that one narrative was the only one that could be allowed and the other was not.
Unfortunately, you know how YouTube is with this crap, sadly. So we have I sat down with Dr. Peter McCullough. I encourage you, we cannot even show that interview here on YouTube because you know how they are. We have it over for your full watching. I encourage you all to go over to Rumble. Please watch it in its entirety on our Rumble channel. It's just redacted.com or rumble.com/redacted. My hour-long interview with Dr. Peter McCullough, who has a new book out on COVID, and really, really eye-opening. Please go watch that. So yes, that's what we can say about this on natural immunity today here on Redacted. We know how they are about this crap.
Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. We've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website to stay connected.
That's crazy. That they can't even speak.
That's right. So head on over to Redact.
Let's talk about the WHO, shall we? Let's talk about the World Health Organization, who has been for years now aligning themselves themselves in many ways with China, and looking the other way. They did that bogus investigation where they looked at, what happened. Where did COVID come from? We don't know. We can't really. We think it's animals, but it might be humans. And at the end of the day, we just don't know. So we're just going to whitewash the same, or sweep it under the rug.
Well, we did get an official report, which is all origins are possible.
Yeah.
That's
So it might have come from Mars as well. It might have. It might have just. That's maybe where it came from. It came from Mars, not even from the Wuhan lab. Well, now we got a bombshell story out of the World Health Organization today, which has for years, of course, been saying that it doesn't believe that SARS-CoV-2 leaked out of the Wuhan, China lab. Well, now, according to the Daily Mail, the Director General of the WHO, here is the guy. His name is Tedros Adhanom, has been telling people privately that yes, COVID leaked from the Wuhan lab.
Well, it's not that private now that we know about it. I mean, this has to be very intentional, right?
Yeah.
Because we're getting, just last fall, I'm going to call them because some people who said that they were dissatisfied with the level of access that they had to Chinese labs. The Chinese had opened up some data, but not all, didn't let them do their own investigation. They said, we really don't like this. We don't think we're going to get that close. But they kept doing this research, and then the official report, which was published just in the last few weeks, is, we don't know. Couldn't come in.
So let's go through
Well,
this.
and I wonder if the YouTube, if the YouTube is going to update the information underneath all the videos, and then the people that got strikes and all that, if they're going to go back and retroactively remove those for the people that talked about that and were called conspiracy theorists just a short time ago.
Well, YouTube did punish people who went, and the official policy is that you have to
be very careful.
Yes, you have to say what WHO says. You cannot go against those things. So we're going to only tell you what is being reported out of WHO.
And specifically in YouTube's policies, it's about, of course, the thing that you get that comes in in a little vial that has a needle sticking out of it.
We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah,
we're only talking about COVID origins.
That's what the
today.
WHO, that's where YouTube's guidelines specifically fall, is on that little thing that's in a vial, and it has a needle, and then you get that. And many people have gotten 10 of them.
Okay.
That's the thing. So
Yeah.
we're not going to talk about that. But we will talk about the origins of it, which is open season, I guess, apparently. Anyway, the Daily Mail, here's the Daily Mail piece. WHO chief believes COVID did leak from Wuhan lab after a catastrophic accident in 2019, despite publicly maintaining all hypotheses remain on the table. So the Director General confided to senior European officials that this is in fact the case. Even though they continue to publicly say that all hypotheses are on the table, and yet the evidence that they've been looking at internally apparently is different than what they're telling us publicly. For instance, this is amazing. If you've seen some of the photos from inside the Wuhan lab, take a look at these. These are the seals around the freezers where they're storing these particular COVID-2, right? And so I've seen better seals on my refrigerator shock photos inside Wuhan lab, which stores 1,500 virus strains. Take a closer look at this, right?
Yeah, you're not supposed to have that kind of ice on your freezer.
Yeah, you're not supposed to have freezer burn, right?
Because
Take
that
a look at
means that you don't have a good seal in
Yeah.
the freezer, right? That's bad. If your freezer looks like that right now,
Yeah,
you
and
should have a look at it.
the rubber around the sides is hanging off there, and of course
I wouldn't eat that ice cream.
well, he talks about he covered in the hairy freezer fuzz.
The ice cream icicles.
Yeah, it's nasty, and that's because, and the reason you get that is because you have a bad seal, right? They're breaking the seal. So the same cave where COVID-19, the Mail on Sunday first revealed concerns within Western intelligence services about the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where scientists were manipulating these coronavirus samples from bats in caves that were 1,000 miles away. So the idea that one of these bats was flying around Wuhan and just went down to the wet market and bit somebody, that's what people have been saying. It definitely came from a bat and was flopping around down there at the wet market where people were buying fish and stuff, and some, oh my God, here comes a COVID bat. And
You do know that bats are nocturnal.
I get it. Even more ridiculous then, right?
Right.
So I'm the last person at the wet market. They've turned all the lights out. It's nighttime, and what was that?
And also, bats fly with echolocation, so they don't
Is that
usually
a COVID bat?
hit things.
Fucking ridiculous. I mean, this is the idea of this whole thing is ridiculous, right? So I'm getting stuck with a COVID bat at the Wuhan wet market. 1,000 miles away is where these bats were, that they were doing the research on in the lab, and then of course all of the data about the military games that were unfolding and that we covered this on the story before, the Canadian military who were there, and saw weird things happening, lockdowns, people being cordoned off, and then all these people started getting COVID and they were getting sick. What the hell's happening here? So,
Well, and isn't this the first time in history they've not found the origin? You know what I mean? Like all
Yes.
the other ones, they get back to the origin of where it came from, but this is the first time in history they've not done that.
even in the what's the movie, the Gwyneth Paltrow movie?
Yes,
What was that movie?
it was called Contagion.
Contagion. They found it.
Contagion, yes.
They figured it out, right? They figured,
They
figured
also
out.
wrote it, but
They
okay.
wrote it, yeah, but in that it's a movie
It was
which
fiction.
is maybe even less believable than what actually happened is kind of crazy. So anyway, gain of function research. Let's talk about what is gain of function research, right? That is the genetic manipulation of viruses, which is what was happening at this lab. Well, you remember Senator Rand Paul showed us all that Dr. Fauci knew about and what was happening there, and also he called him out on the fact that Dr. Fauci was part of funding the
Well,
COVID.
he was the director of an organization that did authorize gain of function. This is truthful.
Yeah. So here
The
is-
NIH.
Yeah, the NIH, National Institutes of Health. So here's Senator Rand Paul on this question about the Wuhan lab. Listen.
Dr. Fauci, do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain of function research in the Wuhan Institute.
Do they fund
of
Dr.
Virology.
Barrett?
We do not fund
You fund
gain.
Dr. Barrett's gain of function research?
Dr. Barrett is not doing gain of function research, and if it is, it's according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina.
You don't think inserting a bat virus spike protein that he got from the Wuhan Institute into the SARS virus is gain of function?
That is
You would
not-
be in the minority because at least 200 scientists have signed a statement from the Cambridge Working Group saying that it is gain of function.
Well, it is not. And if you look at the grant, and you look at the progress reports, it is not gain of function, despite the fact that people tweet that,
So
they
do
write
you still
about it.
support sending money to the Wuhan Virology Institute?
We do not send money now to Wuhan.
Do you support sending money? We did under your tutelage. We were sending it through EcoHealth. It was a sub-agency and a sub-grant. Do you support the money from NIH that was going to the Wuhan Institute?
Let me explain to you why that was done. The SARS-CoV-1 originated in bats in China. It would have been irresponsible of us if we did not investigate the bat viruses and the serology to see who might have been
Or
infected.
perhaps it would be
in China.
responsible to send it to the Chinese government that we may not be able to trust with this knowledge and with this incredibly dangerous viruses. Government scientists like yourself who favor gain of function research.
I don't favor gain of
maintain
function research in
that
China.
these
You're
arose
saying
naturally.
things that are not correct.
So that goes on and on the back and forth, of course, but
Okay, I would just like to refer you to a video we did just about a week and a half ago about how the Wuhan Virology Lab is currently manufacturing their own monkeypox in a pot because they say that they need to research a treatment for it, and they cannot otherwise have access to samples because there is no monkeypox in China, right? So, in videos that we showed you recently, Wuhan Lab admitted to stirring up their own synthetic pot, right? So,
they're
I
making-
just want to
they're making their own.
reiterate this point that this is a lab that we all collectively may or may not trust that does right now, maybe in this freezer, can you show the image again? There may be now not any more COVID leaking out of there, but in that same freezer, there may be some monkeypox.
And some pot pies.
People are like-
that's where they also store their frozen, their Mrs. T's pot pies in that same freezer.
I was gonna say, like, you got scientists walking in the lab and they're like walking in the door and they're like, oh my gosh, what are you guys making? This smells really good. Oh, we're stirring up some monkeypox this week. Oh wow, I'm glad that COVID stunk. I hated the smell of that. This monkeypox
We're
smells
on to
pretty good.
something new.
Wait, you can smell that? Oh, it's our freezer. It's acting up again. Our monkeypox
Well, if you can
freezer.
smell it, it means it's loose.
Yeah. Growing up, I know my mom's probably watching. She's going to be upset at me. But we had a freezer in the basement because my dad worked in the meat business. And so he would come home with, like, steaks all the time. You know? And so we had, like, a freezer full of steaks in case, like, there was a world war. Like,
Yes.
we would have steaks for, like, 4 years or something. Or whatever cut of meat. But in that freezer, my mom would buy, like, the Elio's pizza. Remember Elio's pizza? You put it in a little toaster oven. Anybody else watching right now remember Elio's? No, it's Elio's brand pizza. Maybe it was an East Coast thing. Anyone else remember?
Must have been,
Elio's
because I
pizza?
never. And I was in the Midwest and I don't remember.
Yeah. Was it cardboard? We had like a few slices. It was like cardboard with like a few slices of cheese on it. Like that's what.
But it was the French bread one?
It was like shaped like
Like an oval.
I don't know what I'm talking. It was shaped.
I
like
remember Elio's Pizza.
But anyway, that
Drop
was what we had.
top, what up,
And we
B?
loved it. My sister
Sorry I
and
didn't see all these guys
anyway, that
comments.
freezer looked like the Wuhan lab freezer.
I'm not all good or anything, but it's okay.
It had like big chunks of ice that you had to, like,
Artilistic
every
Films
season
from
you had
the
to get in
lab.
there
Hello.
with, like, an ice pick and like.
How
it
are you
was
doing?
full. But we
I'm
weren't
doing
stirring up
okay.
monkeypox. We just
Hey,
had
thanks,
Elio's
good.
pizza.
Do you remember the miracle
hope you guys are all here, still here. I was just listening to this guy. Artilistic Films and Drop Top and some Earth Dude. Welcome to the channel. I'm gonna be up for about another hour or so. Trying to make the quota for the girls. The girls made about, between my stream earlier in the day and the girls stream, made about $80. We're trying to get the last $20, the last $20 for the night, so that we can make our goal for the night, because 3 of our sponsors dropped out of the Anime Com's support for the Valkyries, trying to host their first booth at Anime Com. And I'm over here catching up on some world news before I hit the sack tonight. So I decided, let me just come on, see who can come in and help us with the last 20 bones. If any of you guys can help, greatly would appreciate it. Try you getting those new Pokemon games this fall? Hell no. First of all, I don't even play Pokemon like that. If the community wants to support some Pokemon games, fine. But like, will I buy them? No. I don't buy Pokemon games. I have to buy games that people will support being played and watched. That's why I stopped like buying certain games on my channel, because I go out of my way, I buy them, spend some money, or get the community, and I start playing them and nobody would support. I'm doing okay. Try getting. Why did all the sponsors drop out? Not all the sponsors. 6 sponsors. Where I shopped to 6 sponsors. Actually, I shopped to 8 sponsors. 6 committed. 3 left. 2 has already put up their money. The 3rd one that's already agreed. Well, we're getting some delays on them. And pretty much the total money we have to raise is $6,500, and we've already raised $3,500 out of it. So we're down to $3,000 remaining. So I can't put any trust in, in the sponsors coming through. So just as a precaution, I'm gonna try to raise the money. I'm gonna still try to go and grab some other sponsors on top of it and see if we can make the goal. But I'll trust in the crowdfunding from the community. If I come on every day, spend some time with you guys, talk, create content, get into some commentary and that type of stuff. Plus what the Valkyrie is doing, I'm sure we'll make our $100 goal per day until we can get the goal. So like I said, we're down to like $20 left. What's up, Danny? Welcome. Between Drop Top, Danny, some dude on Earth, Artilistic. If you guys, each guy drop $5, boom, we make the goal for the night. Or if anyone got it like that, they can say, I try for here's your goal for the night. That'll be good. I'll definitely be back tomorrow in the mid-afternoon, anywhere between 2 o'clock in the afternoon till about 5 or 6. Then we take a break, and then around 8 o'clock, now comes back on for our 8 o'clock late night stream, and then I come back on after 10:30, 11. What's good that it was a it's talk. This is mine, right? We over here drinking some mint tea for dinner. I'm over here listening to Redacted. They're talking about the origin of the Wuhan virus, also known as COVID-19, and where did it really come from? How did it get out? And now scientists are working on a synthetic monkeypox because they want to try to create a vaccine for monkeypox. So here comes the next pandemic, ladies and gentlemen. Stop. Did it cool down first? Well, that's good then.
Thought out things where you put like meat or whatever on this miracle ball, which looks like a griddle.
It was just a stone.
It's not a stone. It's like, it looks like a non-stick griddle, but it magically defrosts your meat in like record time or whatever it is you put on there.
Maybe that's, and they could
so
do the same thing at the
needed a
Wuhan.
miracle thaw.
At the Wuhan lab, they could use the miracle thaw to thaw out the monkeypox. But I also want to play this.
Wow, these guys are silly.
This is a Chinese official who's pissed off about this. So they're saying, look, this has nothing. This lab leak theory is a total lie. Don't pay attention to it. This is all anti-China. Okay. Now, look, on this show, we're fairly nuanced. We've covered watch our video with Vanessa Beeley, our interview with Vanessa Beeley, who's been covering the Uyghur story. Go watch that video. I'm not going to comment on it here, but we try to really be fair when it comes to like all of the propaganda coming out of the West about China. But here you have an official from China saying, "Don't believe this Wuhan lab stuff. It's all anti-China propaganda." Listen.
实验室泄露完全是假杂失利，出于政治目的炮制的谎言，毫无科学可言。公安已经邀请世卫国际。
So, he's saying there, if you're listening to this in audio, what he's saying is we invited the WHO to come to the Wuhan lab, right? We invited them here, and.
But that's, they did say that, but the World Health Organization said that they weren't giving access to everything they wanted to see. So, who's telling
well,
the
and
truth?
that was an American doctor blocking that. 联合研究报告也
The laboratory leak was highly unlikely. Again, we laid out at the beginning of this video how they were, they've been in cahoots, the WHO and China. So there's a cozy relationship there, and you can see it in Dr. Fauci's response as well, and the funding that's been taking place there. So, are we getting anything accurate? Maybe the only thing accurate we're getting are these private conversations now from the heads of these chiefs at the World Health Organization admitting to behind closed doors and letting this leak out. And by the way, this stuff doesn't just leak out. This is an intentional someone trying to cover their path now. Somebody from the WHO trying to like do the right thing and get this information out. Say, no, look, we've seen enough evidence. We know where this is coming. We're going to tell you this information.
Yes, or you could go around it from the other side, right? And maybe someone's trying to throw a wrench and do the wrong thing. Like, we just don't know, right? It's so much of it doesn't make sense that we just clearly do not know.
Be the COVID reach around, what you're saying.
Yes.
COVID reach around.
Yeah.
Gotta watch out for that COVID reach around.
Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. We've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.
There you go, guys. Go sign up to Redacted. What do we have here? Tropical liquor. If you played this Nico Para, then consider playing this. What is this game about? This game's foolishness. All right.
You have served me well, my
Oh, we
Einherjar.
got a donation.
Drop Topox has just donated $5.
You know, I always called you Drop Top Ox, but the game, the stream calls you Drop Top Ox. Could be said as well. Thank you, Drop Top. I appreciate the $5. 15 to go, boys. 15 to go. Help us out, man. Help us reach that goal for the night. Hard as shit to get that goal reached anyway, as it is. There was a guy in here. His name was Big something whatever. This guy says he's a fan of Empress Now's ass. He must be missing out right now. This guy must be sick right now. You have served me well. Drop Top Ox. I knew it. I knew it was always Drop Top Ox. The computer called you Drop. What do they call it? Drop. Drop Toe Pox. That's what they call you. Big says thank you, Drop. Big, why don't you donate $5? Thank yourself. Yeah, Danny. Like I said, man, these guys are playing around with shit, man. Playing around with shit. Ouch. I'm looking for the next piece of news to drop, guys. Giant planet. NASA just discovered a planet that defies logic. Or human logic, not logic. Oh boy. I'm still looking, guys. Okay. Obedience and the rise of authoritarianism. Why are most people cowards? That's a good question. Oh boy, this is crazy. I can't believe Redacted that's all Redacted has. Dozens of people found dead in a truck in San Antonio. Let's play some of these news on Al Jazeera. Let's see. We got some comments in here. or I'm broke.
So, in what appears to be one of the worst cases of migrant deaths in the United States.
You broke? No problem. I just watch your ass. Drop Top says I'm broke too. Oh shit. Not broke enough. Stock market killing me. I have no card. Drop Talk's family side. Slide me cash. Drop Talk says, damn G, you judging me? Fuck face force? What?
In recent years, at least 46 people have been found dead inside a truck in Texas. The discovery was made on the outskirts of San Antonio. 16 people found alive are being treated in hospital.
Patients that we saw were hot to the touch. They were suffering from heat stroke, heat exhaustion, no signs of water in the vehicle. It was a refrigerated tractor trailer, but there was no visible working AC unit on that rig.
Let's go straight away to Rosalind Jordan, who joins us live from Washington, D.C. Ros, what more do we know at this point?
Well, the situation started unfolding about 4 hours ago, and that's when a worker at a facility in a nearby industrial yard heard someone screaming, went out, and called 911. That's when authorities showed up at this truck, which was parked on a road outside this industrial yard, and discovered the 46 dead people, as well as the other 16 people who were then taken to nearby hospitals for heat exhaustion and in some cases heat stroke, which means those people were very close to perhaps dying. It was a very hot day in San Antonio, which is in southern Texas. Temperatures in the upper 20s, some suggesting perhaps in the low 30s. And inside a truck without air conditioning, the temperatures were even higher. Now, authorities did say they have arrested or detained, I should say, 3 people, but it's not clear whether they are connected to the situation with this tractor trailer being found on the side of the road. Authorities did spend some time Monday evening looking through some nearby woods to see if there were any other people who might have been connected to this truck, either as passengers or perhaps involved with the movement of the truck, but so far they haven't found anything. Now, this is an investigation. Even though local police and fire departments responded, it's now being conducted by the Department of Homeland Security, which does suggest that this could be, and I stress, could be a human trafficking case.
All right, Ros, leave there for the moment. Thanks very much. Let's speak to John Holman, who joins us from Mexico City.
Some dude has just donated $5. Here you go.
Hey, some dude on earth. Thank you, man. I appreciate that $5 donation. There we go. We down to $10 remaining, man. I appreciate that. And trust me, that the weirdo guy inside the chat, he's probably enjoying that $5 donation more than I am. Back to the news.
No.
Well, the Mexican foreign minister has been really active, actually, mostly on Twitter, giving out information about this. Some of it has already gone out in the US press, the fact that 16 people have been taken to hospital. He said that in that group of those 16 people taken to hospital, 2 people from Guatemala have been identified and 4 minors. He also said, interestingly, especially after what Ros just said, that the trailer actually had plates that were put on US plates on top of other plates, sort of suggesting that they're fake plates. And he said after that, it's very probable that this was done by people smugglers. So that's sort of information that's coming from Mexican Foreign Ministry. This is something in terms of people via people smuggling groups being taken up this route from Central America or even further south through Mexico into the United States. That happens quite regularly. We've actually followed and tracked a convoy of those trucks heading north through the state of Chiapas in the very south of Mexico in the past, and another time we followed people going all the way up to the US border.
Crazy.
And it has resulted in tragedies before. It was only in December of last year, 2021, when even more people, more than 50 people died in the back of the trailer in that southern state state of chapters when they were involved in a road accident. So this is something obviously that people are doing because they're desperate. They want to get to the United States. They want to avoid the checkpoints. But especially in the south of Mexico, there's different checkpoints trying to stop people get through. The larger criminal groups in Mexico, some of them are involved in the trafficking of people to get them up that route to the United States, and people can pay thousands of dollars to get up to that route. But obviously the conditions in which they're being transported are far from ideal, as the tragedy of tonight, where there was a lack of air conditioning obviously, and people suffered from heat stroke in that truck, indicate.
All right, John, thanks very much, and bring more on the story as we go.
We start this news hour with breaking news from Ukraine. Russian missiles have hit a crowded shopping mall in the central Ukrainian city of Kremenchuk. More than 1,000 people are believed to have been in the center at the time of the attack. Charles Stratford is joining us right away from Kyiv to give us an update on what you're hearing about this attack, Charles.
That's right, horrific pictures that we have begun to be seeing on Twitter and social media platforms of this shopping mall, reportedly hit by at least one Russian missile this afternoon. As you reported, the president actually has come out now. President Zelensky has said that over 1,000 people are inside or were inside this mall at the time this missile hit. The city is interesting in as far as what's happened there in the last few days. Certainly yesterday there was a Russian attack on a bridge in the city. There was one person confirmed dead in that strike, another 5 injured. Certainly the Ukrainian authorities are saying that this shopping mall is nowhere near any kind of strategic institution or factory, anything to do with weapons. And it is a long way away from front lines. It's around at least 200 kilometers from the southern front line, probably a similar sort of distance from the eastern front line. It sits on the Dnieper River, above the city of Dnipro. So, yeah, we are hearing gradually of reports of casualties as well. According to a government source, at least 2 people have been killed so far and another 20 injured. And of course condemnations are coming through from government officials as well. The head of the presidential office describing it as basically another Russian atrocity. Russia should be called to account for this attack. Of course, Russia has continuously said that it has no intention of hitting civilian targets and actively tries to avoid them. It was interesting yesterday, the missile strikes in the capital, Kiev. Sunday morning, very early, very few civilians about, but of course there was civilian infrastructure, residential buildings hit in that attack also. So, yeah, as I say, horrific scenes of fire, billowing smoke. We're beginning to see pictures also of the injured being carried out of that mall. Horrific scenes in that area, Kremenchuk, or that city Kremenchuk, which is effectively sort of central eastern Ukraine, but as I say, a very long way away from front lines.
All right, Charles, we'll check in with you later on. Thank you so much. Charles Stratford reporting for us from Kyiv.
Let's go back to a story we tried to bring you earlier, and that's those airstrikes on the Ukrainian capital. Let's join Charles Stratford, our correspondent, who's following events for us in the capital. Charles, good to have you back with us. Just give us an update on what we know about these strikes.
Well, you join us here, so outside one of the strike sites. This is a civilian residential building that we understood was hit by one of 2 missiles, the other one landing very close to here. Those missiles, 2 of 4 that it's been reported were cruise missiles that
you gotta get up in the morning. I'll
in
stay
Kiev
awake.
in the early hours of this morning. Emergency services here, we understand, are still trying to search for bodies, people that they understand are trapped inside. At least one woman, her daughter was taken away in an ambulance in the last hour or so, as was her husband, severely injured. The husband's not actually showing any signs of life. you can see the level of devastation, the power of these cruise missiles that hit. Interestingly, the building was just off camera to my left here, to my right, sorry, was also hit about a month ago. So this is not the first time this area has been hit. We also understand there is another strike site up the road. We're being told a kindergarten, or very close to a kindergarten, what's been described as a huge crater in the ground. As I say, about 6:30 this morning, we were woken up at our hotel by what sounded, we initially thought, as a jet fighter. Transpires that these were cruise missiles. Now, as I say, these are the first hits on the Ukrainian capital for about a month now. We had the mayor here earlier on, as you can imagine, condemning these attacks. He's saying that this was another example of Russian atrocities, and yet again highlighting that there seems to be nowhere throughout this country that the Russians cannot hit. But yeah, very worrying scenes here. As I say, the search goes on for this woman believed still to be trapped inside this building.
Thanks very much for the update. Charles Stratford there for us in Kyiv.
Alright, we're bringing you now some breaking news coming in from the US, where the Supreme Court has overturned the law that allowed states to ban abortions. That law was called Roe versus Wade. The court made the ruling in a 6-3 ruling by its conservative majority. It upholds the Republican-backed Mississippi law that bans abortions after 15 weeks. We're looking at some live pictures coming in, as you can see. I think we've got crowds representing both sides of the argument. Definitely we've got some people who are pro-abortion there as well, and some signs of people who are clearly against it. This was a very pivotal landmark ruling in 1973 when the US Supreme Court said basically it recognized a woman's constitutional right to decide on an abortion and legalized it nationwide. Now, most abortions have been legal in the United States for nearly 50 years since that ruling. As I said, it was quite a pivotal landmark decision, brought many unexpected changes. Patty Culhane has more for us.
Abortion wasn't always controversial in the United States. It was legal when the country was founded, up until what they called the quickening, when the mother could feel the baby, around 4 months. But by the 1880s, abortion was outlawed across most of the country. It stayed that way until the 60s, as the women's movement came into force. Pressure mounted on the court. First, it struck down a law that banned selling birth control to married couples, then later for unmarried adults.
Family Planning Information Service, would you hold on, please?
Then Roe v. Wade in 1973 changed the lives of millions of women, allowing all abortions in the first trimester and some restrictions in the second, a decision reaffirmed several times since by the Supreme Court. Before the decision on Roe, wealthy women could travel out of the country for the procedure, but for lower-income women, getting an abortion often meant going to unsafe clinics. In 1965, 17% of all deaths due to pregnancy were the results of illegal abortions. And after Roe, there was an economic impact. Women could choose to stay in the workforce.
They could start, for example, an advanced
12 people are dead tonight after a massive explosion and toxic gas leak at a Jordanian port. According to the Jordanian government, a crane was loading chlorine tanks onto a ship when one of them was dropped as a result of a crane malfunction. Video, independently verified by NBC News, shows the moment a cloud of yellow gas spread to cover the dock, sending workers running for their lives.
If it was a small amount of chlorine, the irritation it will subside. However, if they are exposed to a significant amount of chlorine gas, they may develop a number of symptoms, including something resembling asthma, for example, and pulmonary fibrosis in the long term.
More than 260 people were injured, according to the government release. A state-funded outlet, Al Mamlaka TV, reporting 199 people were being treated in hospitals. Aqaba is on the northern tip of the Red Sea, next to the Israeli city of Eilat, which is just across the border. The nearest residences are 15 miles away, but a local health official urged people to stay inside and close their windows and doors.
15 miles is a sufficient far enough distance, so the people should not develop severe injury, but my recommendation would be to be inside, to remain inside, until the all clear has been issued by the health authority.
The country's media minister says the situation is, quote, under control. The prime minister saying he assembled a team to find out exactly what happened. Photos from Jordan Public Security show laboratory teams on site to collect evidence. The prime minister adding, quote, I salute all the working cadres from the specialized agencies for the speedy response to the Aqaba incident, which reduced the severity of the injuries we witnessed. Emily Keta, NBC News.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.
One second, guys, and let me get to y'all in a second. Whoa. What? Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Ukraine, let me see something. 11 killed. Oh yeah, we already saw that. Comments on my side. I don't want to see those comments. Let's see what they're saying at Gravitas here.
Oblivious to this threat. They talked about competing with China, they talked about engaging with China, but they never talked about conflict. Could that sentiment be changing now? Let's hit the rewind button. The date is December 2020. China and the European Union concluded a very important deal, a comprehensive agreement on investment. The EU was upbeat about it. They called it China's biggest ever agreement with another country. The biggest ever. This deal was supposed to chart the future of China-Europe ties, a partnership based purely on money. 2 years later, what's the status? Zero progress. In fact, things have become worse. The European Parliament is yet to ratify this investment deal, plus China is picking fights with multiple EU states, with Lithuania on Taiwan, with France and Germany over the South China Sea, and now over the Ukraine war. So where exactly did things go wrong? We'll come to that in a bit, but first let me tell you what is at stake. What was China hoping for from Europe? Broadly speaking, two things. Number one, a consistent and lucrative market. China is Europe's biggest trading partner, even bigger than the United States. Their total bilateral trade is worth around $700 billion. China wanted to keep that market open. Number two, a counterweight to US hegemony. For a long time, Europe was talking about strategic autonomy, possibly decoupling from Washington. If that happens, China stands to benefit. It could deny the US crucial influence in Europe. And this is classic Chinese strategy, making your enemies fight amongst each other. Think back to the 1960s and the 1970s. The Soviet Union was threatening China along its northern border. And what did China do? It reached out to America. They normalized relations with Washington after 2 decades of rivalry. They did the same with Imperial Russia when Japan attacked. They played the foreigners against each other. That's what China does. But this time, it may not succeed. And one big reason is the war in Ukraine. China continues to prop up the Russian economy. Their oil purchases from Russia are up 55%. Overall trade is up 36%. Clearly, China has no plans of abandoning Russia. Having said that, why is Europe surprised about any of it? Everyone knows what China stands for, who China stands for, who are China's friends. So why did this position surprise Europe? Because this time the trouble is in their backyard. Time for another flashback. This time, in June 2021, the G7 and NATO had concluded their annual meeting. The US pushed for more efforts to contain China, but one leader stood in opposition. French President Emmanuel Macron. Listen in to what he said last year.
For my part, China is not part of the Atlantic geography, or else my map is a problem. I don't consider it to be the heart of the matter.
Not part of the Atlantic, so not my problem. That was Macron's position. But now things are different. Russia's war is on Europe's borders. It is affecting European countries. If the war spills over, who can Europe count on? NATO or China? It's a no-brainer. You see, Europe may dream of strategic autonomy, but this war has pulled them back into reality. They still need American weapons, they still need American nuclear missiles, and that could push Europe away from Beijing. As long as Taiwan or the South China Sea was the battleground, Europe was fine with all of it. They had no problem sitting on the fence. But a war in their backyard changes the equation completely, and that's one reason. Another reason is the public opinion. Because let's face it, people may use Chinese products all over the world, but they seldom have anything good to say about China. Whether it's on Taiwan or the Uyghur genocide or the South China Sea, opinion polls indicate very little support for China, and leaders realize this. Even the so-called peaceniks like Macron and Olaf Scholz. So they have to make a choice now. Do they work for peace and principles, or do they put trade first? Well, they tried putting trade first with Russia, and look where it got them. So with China, Europe is being a little more careful. A number of moves have already been made, like trade retaliation measures, Uyghur genocide sanctions, better trade relations with Taiwan. All of these decisions have already been approved by the EU, but don't expect big statements or declarations. Because for that, all EU members need to be on the same page. And even now, that seems unlikely. Because China still has friends left in Europe, like Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán. His one vote alone, can derail any EU measure. What is more likely then is individual action. In Italy, for example, the Prime Minister is using his veto powers. He cancelled 3 Chinese corporate takeovers in 2021. In Germany, Olaf Scholz is doing something similar. He skipped China during his first Asia tour, and now he's asking German industry leaders to diversify their supply chains to move away from China. I know all of this sounds good. It sounds like Europe is finally taking a stand. But multiple challenges still remain, like the looming global recession. Can Europe abandon its largest trading partner in the middle of an economic crisis? Can Eastern Europe forego investments from China? This decision, you see, is not just about politics, it's about Europe's finances, their resolve, and their character. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.
Welcome to the United Nations Ocean Conference. I invite to the stage the Honourable Mayor of Lisbon, Mr. Carlos Moedas, to deliver welcoming remarks on behalf of the City of Lisbon. The floor is yours.
You know, that WION report was so dog shit.
And those decisions, whether we like it or not, affect the rest of the world too. The G7 is the richest grouping in the world. They basically run the global economy. Any decision they take affects all of us. For instance, their new ban on gold. G7 countries are planning to ban the import of Russian gold. The idea is to starve the Russian economy. You see, gold is Russia's second biggest export. The first, as you know, is energy, oil and gas. In 2021, Russia made $15 billion by exporting gold. G7 wants to cut that off. They want to remove Russian gold from their markets. How will this impact other countries? Like India, for example. India is the world's second largest consumer of gold. China is the largest. Last year, India spent $55 billion on importing gold. $55 billion in 1 year. So you get how important gold is for India. The question is, will the G7 ban affect Indian consumers? Right now, experts are split. Some say Russian gold was already removed from the market and that existing sanctions include gold. If that's the case, this ban could be a symbolic one. It will not make much of a difference. Others say this new ban will create shortages. Because indirect sanctions are one thing, a direct blanket ban is a different matter altogether. Gold prices are already reacting to this news. Let me show you some data. In the global markets, gold was up by 0.5%, around $1.8 per ounce. In India, gold futures rose 0.4%. It is trading at more than 50,000 rupees per 10 grams. So the prices are higher, but they're not setting new records, which means the market is still uncertain, trying to figure out which way things will go, because this gold ban could play out in two ways. Scenario one, it creates a shortage in the global market. Russia is the fourth largest gold exporter in the world, the fourth largest. If you ban them, obviously prices will go up. But here's scenario two. Russia looks elsewhere to sell gold. It cannot sell to the G7, so it could try India or China. The next question then is, will this gold be sold on a discount?
Yes.
After all, Russia is selling oil at discounted rates to India.
Stupid ass question.
If yes, it's good news for India. If not, prices could rise. And India's story is unique here because in India, gold is not just a commodity, it has a socio-cultural backstory. And pretty soon, Indians could be paying more for that gold.
But they won't.
All because of a decision that they had no say over. Just think about it. India did not sign off on this gold ban, neither did African countries or Latin American countries. This decision was taken unilaterally by the G7.
And it will backfire on the G7.
Only G7 is planning to ban Russian gold. Other countries can still buy it. Technically, yes, they can, but it's not as easy as it sounds. For example, do you know where most of the gold trade happens? In the UK and Switzerland. And if these two countries stop buying Russian gold, even other countries will have to look for new supply chains. And don't forget the impact on prices. The G7 makes up 46% of the global GDP, around 60% of the global wealth. In other words, a lot of purchasing power.
These guys
if they stop buying anything, prices will rise.
Like
Oil,
they're
natural
making
gas,
the rest
gold,
of the world
you name any
really
commodity.
not like
if the
them.
G7 stops buying it, the prices will rise. That's how rich they are. I'll give you another example. Oil. The G7 is proposing a price cap on Russian gas and oil.
I can't wait to when this backfires on the Europeans.
Russian energy will have a legal maximum price. Even if the market price rises, it doesn't matter. How can G7 impose such a price cap? How can they set it? By restricting tanker insurance.
They can't. It's not going to work.
Every oil tanker is covered by an insurance because we're talking about shipments worth billions of dollars, so naturally they're insured. And this tanker sector is highly monopolized. 95% of tanker coverage is handled by European companies. And needless to say, they follow European laws. So this price cap could complicate oil sales. For instance, will Russia keep offering discounts to India? Will this move drive up overall market prices? And how will the OPEC nations respond? All of these are unknown variables at this point, yet the G7 is pushing ahead. And this reveals a larger problem with the system. The G7 includes just 7 countries, 7 out of more than 200 countries in the world. They have no representation from Africa, none from Latin America, and just 1 from Asia. The G7 tries to make up for this by inviting other countries as observers. They get a place in the photo ops, but not at the decision-making table. The fact is, the G7 is a Western cabal. All these laid-back family photos, all this banter about wardrobe, none of it hides the negative impact the G7 has. They failed on the most important issues of our times. On vaccines, they failed. On supply chains, they failed. On climate change. They take decisions that suit their political interests.
Yes.
And those decisions end up affecting the whole world. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.
Wow, that's loud. Going to the WION channel. Let's see what we have here. Let's play these. What the hell?
G7 wants to challenge China's most ambitious project, the Belt and Road Initiative or BRI, and for this they promised money. How much money? $600 billion. How does this compare with China's Belt and Road Initiative? Let's look at the numbers. The G7 is committing $600 billion for the next 5 years. You know how much China spent on the Belt and Road? At least $4 trillion. G7 is making this about democracies and autocracies. To counter China's rise, the world needs an alternative, a better alternative, a sustainable alternative, which is all very well. But such alternatives need money. How will they get the $600 billion they promised now? There's no clarity yet. Let's look at how much G7 countries spend on development assistance, 0.32% of their gross national income. So even if they cobble up the $600 billion that they are now talking about, competing with China's BRI will still remain a pipe dream.
Oh shit.
With that, let's take a look at what else is making news across the world. This is Gravitas Global Headlines.
As crisis hit Sri Lanka struggles to maintain its fuel reserves, the government has shut schools and urged working from home to save fuel as people queued up for petrol amid severe shortages. Taiwan's Army and Marine Corps conducted a missile firing exercise to demonstrate capability to repel enemy aircraft. The US-made Stinger and Avenger surface-to-air missile systems were fired at moving targets in the island's southern coast. Climate change protesters marched in Sydney, forcing the police to close major roads in the city centre. 11 people were arrested. The protest was led by members of a climate activist group known as Blockade Australia. They moved across major roads, causing peak-hour traffic chaos for passengers. A Russian missile strike hit a crowded mall in eastern Ukrainian city of Kremenchuk, killing at least 2 and injuring dozens more. A video shared by the Ukrainian president shows the mall engulfed in flames, with dozens of rescuers and a fire truck outside. 3 people were killed in Northern California when an Amtrak commuter train smashed into a car. 2 adults and a child were taken to hospitals. The car came to rest about 60 feet away from the tracks, and an investigation to ascertain the cause of the crash is underway. The Ecuadorian president announced that the country will cut fuel prices, which had sparked weeks of demonstrations, though not by as much as protesters have demanded. At least 4 people were killed and another 70 injured when a part of a stand at a bull ring in Colombia collapsed during a popular event at which members of the public face off with small bulls. NASA's first ever launch from a commercial site outside of the United States States blasted off from Australia's outback in a historic moment for the country's space industry. American golfer Xander Schauffele has won the Travelers Championships by 2 shots in Connecticut. The reigning Olympic champion held off Indian origin golfer Sahit Theegala and amateur Michael Thorbjornsen to clinch his 6th PGA Tour title. The Colorado Avalanche have dethroned the Tampa Bay Lightning as Stanley Cup champions. Colorado completed a 4-2 series victory over Tampa Bay, who were chasing a hat-trick of titles. Avalanche won 2-1 in Game 6 for their first title since 2001.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move. Monarchists are not going to like our next story. It's a weekly reminder to rethink the institution. Meet the future King of England, Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales. Reports say he accepted cash from a former Prime Minister of Qatar. Prince Charles allegedly received $3.2 million over a period of 4 years. This money was given in cash. The first installment, reports say, was stuffed in a suitcase. The second in a carry bag of a departmental store. The third, apparently, was given to Prince Charles in a duffel bag. This is what reports say. What did Prince Charles do with all this money? He supposedly deposited it to one of his charitable funds. This one is called the Prince of Wales' Charitable Fund, PWCF. This trust claims to transform lives and build sustainable communities, but reports say it also funds the Prince's private projects. In fact, Prince Charles' charities seem to have a reputation. The most notorious one is the Prince Foundation. This charity had once accepted donation from a Saudi billionaire. In exchange, he was given knighthood and UK citizenship. Prince Charles' office claims the royal was royally oblivious. In another case, the foundation allegedly accepted money from a Russian banker. This time, it was said to be in exchange of a meeting with Prince Charles. When Scottish regulators got whiff of the donation, Prince Charles said he had no clue. Well, what does he have to say about the cash and suicide scandal? Clarence House has released a statement. It says charitable donations received from Sheikh Hamad bin Jassim were passed immediately to one of the prince's charities, who carried out the appropriate governance and have assured us that all the correct processes were followed. Reports say British law allows donations running into millions to be made in cash. But what about the nature of this donation? Reports say Prince Charles not only received the cash personally, but he also got his aides to count the money in the palace. Try and imagine all of this. Which royal engages in such business? Apparently the British kind. Remember Prince Andrew? He was once the 9th in the line to the throne. This was before the 62-year-old was accused of sexually abusing a child, also being part into sex trafficking. The Queen's royal consort, late Prince Philip, was no stranger to controversy. He once asked a female sea cadet if she worked in a strip club. He insulted Aboriginals in Australia. He injured people with his rash driving before voluntarily giving up his driving license, only to hop back behind the wheel without a license. Not too long ago, the Queen was in the news too. Her lawyers had once secretly lobbied Scottish ministers. They made changes to a draft law so that the Queen's private estate could be exempted from a green law. The throne is supposed to act as a symbol of national pride, but headlines like these rarely serve that purpose. The Buckingham Palace just spent £28 million to celebrate the Queen when the country is battling record inflation. The monarchy is supposed to recognize success and excellence, but reports say the British royal family has put recognitions up for sale. All of which begs the question: who do you think should be allowed to serve as a head of state? Someone who is destined to inherit the throne, or someone who deserves to lead a country? And where is the place for a constitutional monarchy in this age of accountability? WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move. Our next story is about a dictator turned fugitive. He once ruled Pakistan like a demigod. He's now living in a self-imposed exile and suffering from a health condition which, by the looks of it, is not getting better. The man we're talking about is Pervez Musharraf, the former president of Pakistan, now charged with treason in his own country. For the last 9 years, Musharraf has been in the UAE. His condition has been described as critical, with chances of recovery said to be slim. He's suffering from something called amyloidosis. It's an extremely rare health condition. It weakens almost every organ in the body. Musharraf was diagnosed with it in 2018. In the last 4 years, his health has deteriorated. Reports say he now wants to return home to Pakistan. That's apparently his last wish, to spend the rest of his life in Pakistan. Now, even if his health permits this travel, it's going to be a complicated affair because Musharraf faces a death sentence in Pakistan. In 2014, he was found guilty of high treason, of subverting Pakistan's constitution and arbitrarily installing himself as the ruler. So if he returns, he will have to face the law. Or not. Because this is Pakistan, laws are more flexible here than in most parts of the world. Last week, some reports came out. They said Musharraf's associates have approached certain powerful quarters in Pakistan to ensure his smooth return. Now, you know what is the most powerful quarter in Pakistan? The army headquarters, Rawalpindi. And sure enough, Musharraf had a visitor. None other than the army chief of Pakistan, the current one, General Qamar Javed Bajwa. 2 days back, he met Musharraf in Dubai along with top physicians from the Pakistan army. No pictures of this meeting have been released, no statements either. The Pakistani media says that General Bajwa went to Dubai in his personal capacity to inquire about Musharraf's health. The people of Pakistan do not buy the story. They say the visit had a clear agenda to see if Pakistani doctors can be trusted. Let me explain. This is what people are saying. Health facilities in the UAE are a lot better than Pakistan, and Musharraf's family says Pakistan's health infrastructure is ill-equipped to handle him. So Bajwa took these Pakistani physicians to Dubai to see if they'll be able to keep Musharraf alive when he's brought back, if he's brought back. Now, none of this has been confirmed except for the fact that Bajwa went there with doctors. Why did he feel the need to visit Musharraf? How much clout does Pervez Musharraf still enjoy in Pakistan, in the army? He shed the military uniform, he no longer wears the badges. Yet he has the army brass visiting him. Does Bajwa's visit show the Pakistan army still stands behind their former boss? Where does that leave the law? No matter how heinous your crimes are, no matter how serious the charges you face, if you were part of this institution, you will never be left behind. And this is something that Musharraf himself has said repeatedly. In 2019, when he was awarded the death sentence, this is what he said, and I'm quoting, "The army has always been with me. Even if I'm not in uniform, I can assure you that the army will still be with me." And the army responded in similar fashion. This is what they said in response to that statement. An ex-army chief, chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff Committee and president of Pakistan, who has served the country for over 40 years, fought wars for the defense of the country, can surely never be a traitor. During Musharraf's 9-year rule, there were numerous reports of human rights violations, enforced disappearances, unwarranted killings, torture by army officials. In 2011, he was charged with orchestrating the killing of Akbar Bukti, a Baloch nationalist leader. In 2021, a report said that more than 7,000 people disappeared during Musharraf's tenure. The cases were registered, but not a single case was investigated. I could give you more examples, but you get the point. Like all dictators before him, Musharraf ruled with an iron fist. The Pakistan Army's efforts to bring him back, their attempts to ensure that he escapes accountability, are an insult to the victims of Musharraf's atrocities, to say the least. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move. Our next story is from South Africa. On Sunday morning, 22 teenagers were found dead at a nightclub in South Africa's East London. 22. How they died remains a mystery. There are no injury marks on their bodies, no signs of a scuffle at the nightclub. Neither have any weapons been found at the site. Reports say these bodies were discovered in a state which indicated as if they've collapsed all of a sudden. So what happened? Here's a report.
Cryptic codes. Threatening notes, a trail of puzzling riddles. Everybody loves a good mystery, but not every mystery is exciting. Some chill you to the bone. The Einherjar Tavern tragedy is one such. Located in the South African town of East London, this tavern is a popular drinking spot among locals. On Sunday night, 22 of them were found dead here. They were all teenagers, Some were 17 years old, others as young as 13. How did they die? No one knows. When the police arrived, all they found were bodies strewn across the floor. There were no injury marks, no signs of a scuffle, no weapons at the site.
There are 8 girls and 12 boys that meet the original 20. It is very scary. I went in, but I couldn't go further into the forensic examination rooms.
With the police maintaining absolute silence, speculation is swirling. Some say the teenagers were killed in a stampede. Others say they were exposed to some kind of poison. Reporters from a regional newspaper have a completely different story to tell. They say, "We witnessed bodies lying bizarrely as if they collapsed to the floor suddenly while dancing or in the middle of a conversation. Some seemingly in the social circles they were engaging with. Other bodies are slumped across chairs and lying over tables." So what was it? A stampede, poisoned drinks, or a sudden collapse? What exactly killed the teenagers? The authorities are waiting for forensic experts to weigh in.
Check their
They
hearts.
say toxicology tests may give some clues. It's been 24 hours. The test reports are still awaited. Families of the victims are distraught.
We have a child that was there, who passed away on the scene. That's the information that we have received. This child, we were not thinking was going to die this way. This was a humble child, respectful, and she listened.
This story is both tragic and creepy. It has even caught the attention of Cyril Ramaphosa. Expressing his condolences, he has attributed the tragedy to a case of underage drinking that went tragically wrong. He stressed on how alcohol should be off limits to people under the age of 18. Is the leader jumping to conclusions too early? His supporters show data to buttress the point. Underage drinking is a serious problem in South Africa. A 2021 study said that 50% of the teenagers in the country had either tried or consumed alcohol. 30% of the teens had purchased alcohol from a tavern, and 25% of them had engaged in binge drinking. To put it simply, what unfolded in East London may have something to do with this trend.
No.
But the fact that 22 teenagers died at the same time and at the same place raises some serious questions about the nature of this tragedy. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move. Talk about West Asia now. Some big developments were reported there this weekend. Iran tested a satellite launcher. Europe's top diplomat visited Tehran. Iraq's prime minister paid a visit. And now there is talk of a Saudi-Iran summit. It's basically a political roller coaster. And guess who is not enjoying this ride? Israel. They don't even have a proper government, you see. The coalition of Naftali Bennett and Yair Lapid have thrown in the towel. They have passed a preliminary vote to dissolve the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. The official declaration could come any day. And what happens after that? Yair Lapid takes over as caretaker prime minister. He will manage the country until elections in October. But there's a big question mark. What if the October poll is also inconclusive? What if nobody gets a majority? And the crisis will continue in Israel. Now, political uncertainty is bad in most states. But this is the worst possible time. Let's start with what happened on Saturday. Development number 1. Europe's top diplomat, Josep Borrell, visited Tehran. He had one job to do: convince Iran to resume the nuclear deal talks. By luck or hard work, he succeeded.
We reaffirmed to Mr. Borrell that we are firstly prepared to resume talks in the coming days. What is important for Iran is to fully receive the economic benefits of the 2015 accord, and anything that can adversely affect this from the point of view of Dr. Raisi's administration and the Islamic Republic of Iran is unacceptable.
The main differences are between Iran and the US. So both sides will be holding indirect talks in Qatar this week. Now this is a complicated process. Iran and the US will not talk to each other. Instead, they will talk to a third party. In Vienna, it was the European states. This week, it will be Qatar, the mediator. Does this mean the deal is back on track? Well, not yet. Iran has not stopped its nuclear program. They say it's a response to America's quote-unquote illegal moves. So both sides are refusing to blink. Iran won't stop enrichment until a deal is struck. And the US will not repeal sanctions until a deal is struck. It's a question of resolve. And so far, Iran has refused to take a step back. On Sunday, they made another demonstration. Iran tested the Zaljana satellite launcher. On paper, it's a space vehicle, a satellite launcher. But in reality, it can be used as a long-range ballistic launcher. It could even carry nuclear
That
warheads.
statement doesn't even make sense.
The launcher weighs 52 tons. It is 25 meters long, and it can carry up to 220 kilograms. 3 tests have been scheduled for this launcher. Sunday was the second one. Now, the White House is not happy with this move. They've called it unhelpful and destabilizing. But perhaps that was Iran's intention, to speed things up. Development number 2, the arrival of a mediator. Iraq has been brokering secret talks between Iran and Saudi Arabia. They were secret last year, but now it's really common knowledge. The Iraqi Prime Minister first visited Jeddah. He held talks with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and then he flew to Tehran. He met with Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi, so leaving very little to the imagination. The last round of Iran-Saudi talks were held in the month of April, and according to Iran, Saudi Arabia wants more. The kingdom is apparently pushing for more direct talks, and this, by the way, is Iran's version. Saudi Arabia has not responded to these comments yet. The Iranian president also had a message for Israel. You may try to normalize ties with the Arab world, but even that will not bring you security, he said. Listen to this.
The Zionist regime's attempts at normalizing relations with the countries of the region will not bring any security for the Zionist regime.
This part of the world, we call that a threat. The question is, how will Israel respond? They're counting on joint security. Reports say the US is brokering a defensive alliance in West Asia. They organized a meeting in Egypt recently. Saudi Arabia attended it, along with Israel, Jordan, the UAE, Bahrain, and Qatar. This proposed alliance has one task: to repel Iranian attacks. So West Asia really is pursuing multiple options. Talks on one hand. If those talks fail, joint defense is a backup plan. Basically, they're covering all bases. And this is where Israel will have a disadvantage. Yes, there is multi-partisan agreement on Iran and normalization. All parties there agree on what Israel's policy should be. But how much power can a caretaker prime minister hold? Can he pursue talks with Riyadh? Can he stand up to Iranian threats? The fact is, Israel's instability is not just an internal issue, it has wider implications for West Asia, and not to mention Israel's own national security. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move. At least Russia has the cash to pay its debt. In China, it's a different story altogether, and it's a story that you must listen to carefully. Property developers in China are out of cash. They're so desperate that they're selling property for wheat. You heard that right. In China, property dealers are resorting to an unheard of barter. Let me show you some ads. These advertisements, they make an offer to home buyers, and they say, pay your down payment in wheat. The developer's name is Central China. It wants to sell some houses in Henan. This is in an area inhabited by farmers. Now, Central China has not been able to sell homes, so it is attracting customers, most of them assuming that they're farmers, by offering down payment in wheat. Farmers can bring around $24,000 worth of wheat, and the developer will book a house in their name. The rest of the payment will be in cash. What if the buyer does not have wheat? Well, there is another option then. You can pay with garlic. Only in China. The same developer is accepting down payments in garlic too. And this offer came last month. the garlic offer. And it apparently received quite a lot of response. Central China ran this offer for 16 days. Reports say it made 30 transactions through garlic. I know it sounds unreal, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Companies like Central China are in a real crisis. In the last 1 year, their sales have dropped by more than 70%. And this is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. China's entire property sector has collapsed. At least 65 million houses are empty in China right now. 65 million. This is enough room to house the entire population of France. These units are empty, they have no takers, and experts say they will remain empty because China has built way too many houses. It's a classic housing bubble. At its peak, Chinese developers were building 15 million homes every year. Why did they build so many then? Because there was a time when real estate was considered a safe bet. Many Chinese citizens saw property as a reliable investment, so many families ended up buying a second or even a third house. There was also a social angle to it. Buying a house means prosperity in China, very much like in India. For the youth, owning property was considered a benchmark, something that they must do before they get married. So Chinese property developers kept building more houses. They thought there will always be demand. Well, they were wrong. Last year, the bubble burst. 5 Chinese property developers have defaulted since last year. The Evergrande Group, the Kaisa Group, Sunak China Holdings, the Yuzu Group, and the Fantasia Holdings Group. Failed debts are spreading like cancer in China's property sector. Goldman Sachs has made a prediction. A third of China's top developers could default this year. We're talking about 22 companies expected to default. Leading Chinese banks are cutting their losses. 17 out of 32 banks have decreased loans to the housing sector. Chinese developers are running out of avenues to raise cash. And they have big payments to make this year. China's real estate developers have to pay $117 billion this year. A big chunk of this is foreign loans. In the month of May, home sales in China plunged by 33%, so debt is rising, sales are falling. The worst is yet to come for China's property sector. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move. Did we mention the rich countries also dictate the fate of investors? Well, today, several international investors are in a spot because Russia has defaulted on its payments. The Kremlin says it has the means and the will to pay. But the US and its allies have ensured that Russia fails to repay investors. Our next report explains.
Western sanctions against Russia have hit investors. Russia has been cut from global financial systems. Russian gold has been blocked. Russian foreign exchange reserves have been frozen. Basically, when Russia invaded Ukraine, the West rendered Russian assets untouchable. It is the 27th of June 2022 and Russia has defaulted on its payments. Moscow owed some $40 billion. It was supposed to pay $100 million in interest. 26th of June was the due date, but the money never arrived. It is a rare situation. Russia last defaulted in 1918 during the Bolshevik Revolution against the Tsar. That was more than 100 years ago. It's 2022 and Russia has a new leader who's often called a Tsar. Its government says they have the means to pay. Russia has the money. It has made the payment, but it never reached the creditors, thanks to Western sanctions. This is Kremlin's side of the story. Russia says it sent the payment to an international bank, a bank called Euroclear. It's based in Belgium. The bank says it is following Western sanctions against Russia, so it cannot process the payment. Long story short, the money is stuck with the Belgian bank and Russia has been declared a defaulter. What does this default mean for Russia? Not very much. For starters, Russia will not be formally designated a defaulter because only rating agencies can do that, and they've all exited Russia. So apart from putting investors in a spot, what purpose did these Western sanctions really serve? Well, they're proving to be an ineffective pressure-building tactic. But the West wants more of the sanctions. NATO is meeting in Madrid later this week. They want to slap more sanctions on Russia. But the word is, there is no consensus. Turkey has made it clear that it will not be party to the sanctions. Turkey says it wants a well-balanced policy on Russia. Their presidential spokesperson said, and I quote, "If everyone ruins the bridges, who will be speaking with Russia then?" The truth is, when it comes to the war, neither speeches nor sanctions have helped. Look at this. This is Kyiv. Ukraine's capital city was struck by at least 14 missiles this weekend. A 9-story apartment building was also destroyed. At least one person was killed and 6 others were injured, among them a 7-year-old girl. Missiles struck targets across Ukraine. Kyiv says some of the missiles were fired from Belarus. Over the weekend, the war took another turn. Russian President Vladimir Putin promised to send nuclear-capable missiles to Belarus. This is what he promised, the Iskander-M systems. And this is more proof that forced default or diplomacy is not changing much on ground. It is certainly not stopping the war, and Ukraine is getting desperate. Its President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed G7 leaders earlier today. He said he wants the war to end by the end of this year. Will Western sanctions secure this end or only add to the fire? We think you know the answer.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move. And those decisions, whether we like it or not, affect the rest of the world too. The G7 is the richest grouping in the world. They basically run the global economy. Any decision they take affects all of us. For instance, their new ban on gold. G7 countries are planning to ban the import of Russian gold. The idea is to starve the Russian economy. You see, gold is Russia's second biggest export. The first, as you know, is energy, oil and gas. In 2021, Russia made $15 billion by exporting gold. G7 wants to cut that off. They want to remove Russian gold from their markets. How will this impact other countries? Like India, for example. India is the world's second largest consumer of gold. China is the largest. Last year, India spent $55 billion on importing gold. $55 billion in 1 year. So you get how important gold is for India. The question is, will the G7 ban affect Indian consumers? Right now, experts are split. Some say Russian gold was already removed from the market and that existing sanctions include gold. If that's the case, this ban could be a symbolic one. It will not make much of a difference. Others say this new ban will create shortages because indirect sanctions are one thing, a direct blanket ban is a different matter altogether. Gold prices are already reacting to this news. Let me show you some data. In the global markets, gold was up by 0.5%, around $1.8 per ounce. In India, gold futures rose 0.4%. It is trading at more than 50,000 rupees per 10 grams. So the prices are higher, but they're not setting new records, which means the market is still uncertain, trying to figure out which way things will go. Having said that, this plan, this decision, this declaration does reflect a change in Europe, a sort of late realization about China. For years, Europe was oblivious to this threat. They talked about competing with China, they talked about engaging with China, but they never talked about conflict. Could that sentiment be changing now? Let's hit the rewind button. The date is December 2020. China and the European Union concluded a very important deal, a comprehensive agreement on investment. The EU was upbeat about it. They called it China's biggest ever agreement with another country. The biggest ever. This deal was supposed to chart the future of China-Europe ties.
As Bugs Bunny would say, shut up. Alright guys, that's what I'm gonna call it right now. It's a couple minutes to 4 on my end. I gotta get some sleep, get back up at least by 11, 12 o'clock. I want to thank everybody for coming through. Big shout outs to Drop Top Ox, and big shout outs to some dude for your $5 donations. We're short. We made at least $90 for the night. Can't complain. We'll try to do 110 tomorrow, make up for it. I'll see you guys in the middle of the day, and then obviously Empress Now in the evening, and then me for a late night news run again. I'll try to jump all over the gaming scene and anime scene and see what's up. see if I can put together some actual content for you guys rather than just having a hangout. Like have some content, things to actually talk about outside of just the news. So I'll hit you guys off with that tomorrow. Once again, thanks guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. Damn, that was 3 hours. Actually, it's going on 4 hours right now. So see you guys later on. Peace.